tell stories of pain. Spoons clinking, whispers in the night. Beneath the night. Shadows dance beneath the neon light. Who drank the poison, who lit the flame? Everyone's guilty, no one takes the blame. True Crime Cafe, where secrets bleed. Truth of bullet, truth of need. True Crime Cafe, where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Black boots stomping, floors of regret. Ashtrays full, but we're not done yet. Clock ticks louder, the walls close in. Every scene tastes like original sin. Who's the killer, who's the saint? Fingerprints smudged, they don't paint. Truth or dare, or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True Crime Cafe, where secrets bleed. Truth of bullet, truth of need. True Crime Cafe, where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Who's the killer, who's the saint? Fingerprints smudge, they don't paint. Truth or dare, or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True Crime Cafe, where secrets bleed. Truth of bullet, truth of need. True Crime Cafe, where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Blood on the counter splattered like rain. Coffee stains tell stories of pain. Spoons clinking, whispers in the night. Beneath the night. Shadows dance beneath the neon light. Who drank the poison, who lit the flame? Everyone's guilty, no one takes the blame. True Crime Cafe, where secrets bleed. Truth of bullet, truth of need. True Crime Cafe, where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Black boots stomping, floors of regret. Ashtrays full, but we're not done yet. Clock ticks louder, the walls close in. Every scene tastes like original sin. Who's the killer, who's the saint? Fingerprints smudged, they don't paint. Truth or dare, or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True Crime Cafe, where secrets bleed. Truth of bullet, truth of need. True Crime Cafe, where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Who's the killer, who's the saint? Fingerprints smudge, they don't paint. Truth or dare, or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True Crime Cafe, where secrets bleed. Truth of bullet, truth of need. True Crime Cafe, where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. splattered like rain. Coffee stains tell stories of pain. Spoons clink and whispers in the night. Beneath the night. Shadows dance beneath the neon light. Who drank the poison, who lit the flame? Everyone's guilty, no one takes the blame. True crime cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True crime cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Black boots stomping floors of regret. Ashtrays full but we're not done yet. Clock ticks louder, the walls closing. Every scene tastes like original sin. Who's the killer, who's the saint? Fingerprints smudged, they don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True crime cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True crime cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Who's the killer? Who's the saint? Fingerprints smudge, they don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True crime cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True crime cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Blood on the counter splattered like rain. Coffee stains tell stories of pain. Spoons clink and whispers in the night. Beneath the night. Shadows dance beneath the neon light. Who drank the poison, who lit the flame? Everyone's guilty, no one takes the blame. True crime cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True crime cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Black boots stomping floors of regret. Ashtrays full but we're not done yet. Clock ticks louder, the walls closing. Every scene tastes like original sin. Who's the killer, who's the saint? Fingerprints smudged, they don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start, what's the end? True crime cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True crime cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Who's the killer? Who's the saint? Fingerprints smudge, they don't paint. Truth or dare tell stories of pain. Spoons clinking, whispers in the night. Beneath the night. Shadows dance beneath the neon light. Who drank the poison, who lit the flame? Everyone's guilty, no one takes the blame. True Crime Cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True Crime Cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Black boots stomping, floors of regret. Ashtrays full, but we're not done yet. Clock ticks louder, the walls close in. Every scene tastes like original sin. Who's the killer? Who's the saint? Fingerprints smudged, they don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start? What's the end? True Crime Cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True Crime Cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide. Who's the killer? Who's the saint? Fingerprints smudge, they don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start? What's the end? True Crime Cafe where secrets bleed. Truth a bullet, truth's a need. True Crime Cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the cafe, everybody. Hello, hello, and welcome. Good to see you guys. Don't ask me why I'm singing. I have no idea. It is great to see you all. Welcome back. Great to have you all here. We are open for business, guys. Once again, today, guys, we're heading on back into something a little different today, doing some updates on the yogurt shop murders, the Amy Bradley case I covered, both of these cases way long time ago, and some more updates as well. It is a special day today for somebody here in the Blue Crew, so you better not try to hide from me because I will come find you, just so you know. I will do that. You better show up soon. Just telling you. So make sure you all are here for that, please and thank you. And I'll let you know what that is here shortly, guys. Make sure to hit the like button, share this out, let everybody know what we're doing in here today. And that being said, you know how this goes. Let's do this thing, y'all. Here we go. Here we go. You know the rest.
Neon lights flicker like broken halos. Whispers gather in the smoke-filled air. Tables carved with secrets and shadows. Every story's a wound laid bare. The kettle's boiling with a restless rage. Justice written on an unseen page. I sip the silence, bitter taste, waiting for the ghosts to show their face. At the True Crime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betrayed. Mirrors cracked, reflections are liars. Ash ashes fall where the guilty once stood. The jukebox hums like a funeral choir, echoes pounding through the neighborhood. Every scar is a candlelit vow. We hug the how, we demand the now. No more silence, no more disguise. We'll paint the night with sharpened cry. At the True Crime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. This is not a sermon, it's a battlefield hymn, a requiem dripping from the bottle's rim. The guilty write stories in invisible ink, but we'll drag it all up from the edge of the brave. At the True Crime Cafe, the reckoning burns like a black bouquet. Every shadow will pay. In the True Crime Cafe.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Welcome. Good to see you all. I hope you're all having an amazing day. It is great to be here with you guys for sure, as always. Highlight of my day every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. Today, we're going to take a little break from the Idaho show and jump back into catching up with some other stuff going on in the true crime world. I did pin the link up there. If anybody wants to join me to discuss these things, because we're going to be doing some update reviews and discussing them as well. So the link is pinned up there. And we're going to be jumping back into I've covered both these cases that are in the title, and whatever else we're going to be updating, I've covered it. Of course, the Yogurt Shop murders and the Amy Bradley case, I've covered both in depth. And like I said, the updates on those. Slightly delving into a little bit of Sebastian Rogers case. I haven't really covered that in a while, but I was pretty deep in that one as well with some update, whatever else we can have the time to talk about. Today, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be joining A.R. Hayes over at the Convict's Thoughts today. I'd love to see each and every one of you guys there supporting that as well. At least come over with me and hang out. Support us. We'll be talking about the Ellen Greenberg case and, of course, Idaho 4 and things going on in those cases. Two great minds together, as he put it, talking about two very important cases, and we'll see where we end up with that, guys. So I'd love to see you all there for that, please. And thank you. Come on in. Grab a seat, get comfortable. Coffee, tea, whatever it may be, guys. We're open for business now. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's do this thing. Looks like we got... Well, Randy B's in the house with us today. Good to see you. Cassie the Sassy. Miss Cat Lady, good to see you, dear. So happy to have you here. Cat K's in the house. Jilly Bean. Always happy to see you, dear. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, SR. BBBB's in the house with us as well. Thank you for that. Mr. Robert, True Crime Unleashed, guys. Good to see you today, my friend. Please drop Robert's link in here if we will, too. Please and thank you. Miss Tandy's on her lunch break with us again. I appreciate you, Miss Tandy, for being here as well. Christina, great to see you today. Mark Schumann, my brother, good to have you in the house. Jen Seven's back in the house with us. Great to have you here. Michelle F., same to you. Great to see you today. Miss Christina, great to see you. Hemisphere, my brother, welcome back to you. Annie Ruler from Santa Rosalia, Baja. Welcome. Enjoying that time, I'm sure. Great to see you today. Aquarian One, welcome back to you. Great to see you. Always happy to have you guys in the house with us. Each and every one of you. Mary Holt, great to see you today. Rowena, welcome back to you, Miss Rowe. And Eddie, wonderful to see you, brother. Great to have you here with us today. Maybe Eddie will join me up here. Who knows? And thank you for the Purple Hearts. As always, in memory of Wisdom Speaks. Never forgotten, guys. Never forgotten. It's always going to be a part of this community, no matter what. Let me see. Show. I think I've gotten everybody. Unless you just popped in. I think I did. I'll double check, though. Come on in. Grab a seat. Please. Please. Hit that like button on your way through the door. If you will. Welcome, Holes. Good to see you today. Stuart Jones, you too. Welcome. Thank you, SRB, for that. Again, guys, go check out Robert's channel. Subscribe to True Crime Unleashed, if you will. Let's help him grow that channel if we can. Robert does some great stuff over there. He's really trying hard to get that thing going. So please, let's go show some support if we can. Please and thank you. Smiling Sleuth, great to see you today. Listening from the gym. Hey, I'm glad I could be part of that. Moonbreaker's in the house. Good to see you, Moonbreaker. Thanks for joining us. You're all good, SRB. It is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Cat Lady. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you again for that, Miss Tandy. Dagburn, Johnny Gobbles, Dead Floozy Mama's in the house. Welcome back, Miss Diane. Great to see you, as always. There's AR's link. If you guys have not yet subscribed to A Convict Thoughts, please do that, if you will. Should be a great show over there this evening with us together. It's always a good conversation between me and AR. I think you guys would enjoy it. So please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss it, please. Just in case you're in a different time zone. I always have them screwed up, so you may not know for sure. Pappy's in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you today. 56 beautiful peeps in the house. And we got 38 likes. Come on, y'all. Do better than that, please. And thank you. Let's get this in an algorithm if we can. These updates are important, guys. Important cases. They're all important. Hello from Texas to my friend. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Give it a few minutes and waiting on a few other people to jump in. Thank you, Miss Tandy. Again, appreciate that very much. And for those of you that aren't familiar, AR and I, like I said, are going to be talking tonight about the, of course, the Idaho 4, what our thoughts, feelings, and things, opinions are on that one. And oh my goodness gracious, there she is. Welcome. Miss Meg is in the house, the mega star, especially today, guys, because today is Miss Meg's birthday. So please make sure that you wish her a happy birthday, if you guys will, please. And thank you. Everybody, please make sure to wish Meg a happy birthday. And happy Fox's Day. That's funny, Meg. That's funny. That is funny. Thank you, dear. I love it. Happy birthday, Meg. I hope you're having an amazing day, dear. We love you. We appreciate you. And we're very grateful that you're part of this team and this community and our family. So I hope you're having an amazing day, Meg. Best day ever. And of course, you know, I got to make a big deal about it. And I sure am going to. I sent her a message. I said, don't hide from me. I will come find you. You heard me say it too. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And wonderful to see you today, Meg. Thank you so much for being here as always. Aquarian hitting the first of 5 goals. Thank you so much, Aquarian. Appreciate you so very much. And thank you for that support. Absolutely, absolutely, Aquarian. God bless. There we go. There we go. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for that. There we are. Happy birthday to you. There's Megatron. Mega star. We call her all sorts of things, but one thing you cannot say is that you cannot not call her awesome, because she is. She does amazing things for this community. We appreciate her so very much. Thank you so much, dear, for all you do. We appreciate you. Let me start off with that first, of course. We'll get that out of the way for you, Miss Meg. Miss Jennifer Meineke, welcome. Good to see you. Annie Ruler, thank you. And Bobby X, welcome. Good to see you guys all so very much. Happy to have you here. Please make sure everybody wishes Meg happy birthday, please. And thank you. I do appreciate that very much. Let me see something here. Oh, hold on. Come on in. Come on in. Mega Million, Megatron, Megastar, Mega Meg. Welcome, Bammy. Good to see you today. Again, thank you, Aquarian, for that first of 5 in the goal on the super chat. There we go. Sorry, I was brain dead for a minute. Michelle App, great to see ya. All right, all right. We appreciate you being here, Aquarian. Always, always, always. All right, guys, let me get this kicked off. It is her 25th birthday. That's right. 25. Great year, isn't it? Eddie, great to see you, brother. SLE, hello and welcome. All right, Miss Meg, we're going to start with this for you. Just for you on your amazing and special day. 26. Okay, got you by Moscow math. Makes perfect sense. All right, here we go. You know we love you, Meg. Oh, interesting, huh? Okay, on we go. See what we got here. Again, these are just handpicked for you, Miss Meg, by me. Special just for you.
What? What? Oh, it's your birthday again. Yeah, so what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to sing happy birthday to you every time it's your birthday? All right, fine, this is it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. All right? God. Can a cat just get some sleep around here?
Or somebody's grumpy. He's a little crunchy, isn't he? Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. All right, now let's get the real stuff out here. You know I like to be funny, so gotta do some funny stuff just for you, Meg. Things to remember for the whole year, and what you get to look up to. Yes, that's everybody has told me that I am Grumpy Cat. So yes, Meg, that's me as a cat.
Your birthday, your birthday, your birthday, happy birthday. It is your birthday, it is your birthday, it is your birthday, happy birthday. Your birthday, your birthday, your birthday, happy birthday.
Aren't you happy you got to see that today? I bet you are. Yep, yep, yep. Like I said, all these awesome things you get to think about for a whole year and wonder what I'm going to do to you next year.
Hi. We heard it's your birthday. So we wrote you a song. It goes like this. It's your birthday, we make you feel right. We get to groove on and party all night. Cause it's your birthday, you didn't tell us, but we still got together all the fellas. Well, where are all the fellas? It's your birthday, we make you feel. So put on a party hat, we got a cake and all that. So let's drink ourselves blind and sing. Oh, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, we make you feel right. You hit the words, cause it's your birthday, we didn't tell us, but we still got together all still high.
There's a nightmare for you. Got to have at least one nightmare on your birthday, because I know I will after watching that. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's see what we got. All right, this will be it for you, Meg. And of course, I got a little cake for you.
We're going to be late for Meg's birthday.
I hope there will be cheese at Meg's birthday party. You know how much I like cheese. Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, my friend Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg.
Breaking news. It's Meg's birthday today? And in other news, scientists prove that cats are smarter than dogs. There's no way you could get 8 cats to pull a sled through the snow.
Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg. Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg.
Happy birthday, Meg. Happy birthday, Meg.
I have studied many philosophers and many cats. The wisdom of cats is infinitely superior.
Please subscribe.
All right. And finally, let's see here. Where's that one good one? I have my cake. Gotta have a cake. Everybody's gotta have a cake. Sorry, I had to grab the fire extinguisher. Hang on. All right, we're good now. Here we go. There you go. I hope you blew the candles out. It goes on forever, so I had to take it down. They would have kept playing. But I hope you have a great day, Meg. I hope you have an amazing year, and I hope it's the best ever. And I can't wait to do it again next year. Thank you so much again for being part of our community, our family, and doing all the things you do. We love you very much and appreciate you even more. Have a great day, dear. All right. Make sure everybody's telling her happy birthday. It's very important. Birthdays are important to me here, guys, because without birthdays, none of you would exist. And that's important to me. So come on in, guys. Grab a seat. All the festivities aside. On to the blah, 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 the true crime stuff, guys. Like I said, we're going to be delving into the... Welcome, Miss Denise. Good to see you today. The Yogurt Shop murders in the Amy Bradley case and doing updates there and a couple of little things. Thank you, Meg. You are welcome so very much, dear. Tomboy's in the house. Good to see you, Bomb Toy. Okay. Of course you would. It won't make you much taller, Tomboy, but you can do it. Thank you, Wade Bird. All right. Come on in. William Tardy, good to see you, my friend. Great to have you in the house. All of you, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, please be sure to tell Miss Meg happy birthday, guys. Looks like we have 57 people now. It's 48 likes. We're catching up. That's all that matters. I'm sure she will. She probably gave me the bird when I said it. What are you talking about, Cass? Not later. Come on in. Grab a seat. All right. Let me pull that up. Let's give it another minute or so. Make sure we got everybody here, and we will get moving. Taking a little break from the Idaho stuff this morning. That early afternoon, I should say. I'm sorry. Because we'll be covering that tonight. I will be joining once again, for those of you that just popped in, I'll be joining A.R. Hayes tonight over at the Convicts Thoughts channel, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 1 minute here. We're going to be discussing the Ellen Greenberg case and the Idaho 4. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat for you guys. That way you'll have it for later if you want it. You can jump on over there if you want to real quick. Subscribe to that channel if you will. Show some love to AR. It says, again, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, William, for that. I appreciate that, my brother, very much. Number 2 out of 5 on the goal. Appreciate that so very much, William. Very generous, my brother. Always appreciated. So there is the link, folks, right there to the show tonight, 6:30, like I said, Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Ellen Greenberg situation is very tragic. Another case that I covered very in depth and was hoping for some kind of a good outcome recently. That didn't happen. We're back in the same boat we were in the beginning, which makes zero sense, as we'll be talking about it tonight, that as well. And of course, the Idaho 4 case. I guess there's going to be some conversations about the Innocence Project and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that with AR. You all should be too. I would love to see you all over there with us tonight, 6:30 p.m. again, Eastern Standard Time. Please check it out. And again, the link's in the chat. Thank you so much for that. And please make sure to subscribe to AR Hayes, if you will. AR is another awesome creator I've been supporting for a long time. I appreciate and respect him very well, very much. There's the link to his channel itself if you want that. Okay. Getting to my downloads now. Welcome, Christina. Good to see you today, dear. Yeah, we got 2 out of 5 on our goal. That's awesome. Thank you, William. Very much appreciate that. There's the bird. Thank you, Tomboy. I love you too. Yes, he does have some awesome dogs. That's true. Can you feel the love, folks? Look at that. She loves me. AR is a good soul. I agree with that wholeheartedly, Meg. He means he's here to do the right thing, and that's why I've supported him from day one. Did my best to try to help him any way I could back in the day. So, and I'm glad he's doing well. Yes, thank you so much for the support. Appreciate that. We all do. When I first looked at that comment, though, when I looked down, it's funny because I just did it again. I looked over and I thought it said, and he's got some awesome drugs. And I was like, I had to look at it twice. But yes, he does have some awesome dogs. They're beautiful. Well, there you go. Thank you, William. Again, number 3 out of 5. That's awesome, William. Thank you so much for that. God bless. Very generous. Very much appreciated. Oh, yeah. She's got all sorts of fingers for me. Yes, she does. Absolutely, Robert. Anytime, all the time, my friend. You're a trip, Tomboy. But I love her anyway, and that's all that matters. I appreciate Tomboy. She does a lot for this channel as well. Lucci Lou! Hey, hey! There she is. You got some splaining to do. Just for you, Eddie. I didn't either. Like I said, I looked down and went, wait, huh? And then I reread it again. So, yes. All right. I guess Lucy's talking about the fingers there. There we go. You missed all the birthday stuff there, Lucy. By the way, again, Eddie, if you're up to it, you feel like it, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you want to join me today, my friend, you're more than welcome. Miss Cat dropping it, number 4 in the goal. We need one more to hit that 5. And we're not even 42 minutes in. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Cat. Very much appreciated, dear. God bless. Very much appreciated. And bam, there's number 5. Don't Be Hayden's in the house. Dropped it. Said, happy birthday, Meg, and have a blessed day. Thank you. Number 5 out of 5. That's so very awesome. Thank you very much. She did it on purpose. She probably did. You're probably right. Miss Lucy is a zinger, I'm telling you. Candy girl. Good to see you, dear. The case of Christine and Michael Morgan is a good case to prove to people that prosecutors can be very corrupt. Christine and Michael Morgan. Interesting. I'll be looking into that one, Candy. Thank you, hon. Let me write it down. That is awesome. We got confetti in the chat. Meg got confetti for her birthday. You can't go wrong there. That's awesome. Great to see you today, Lucy. Great to see you, Candy. Thank you both for being here with us. Yes, happy birthday to Miss Meg. If you're just popping in here, please make sure you wish her a happy birthday. Today is her birthday. All right. Thank you, guys. We hit that first goal of the day. Like it wasn't nothing. That was awesome. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you all very much. So very much. And bam. Welcome, my brother. How are you today?
Good. I got my bicycle ride in before the rain.
The
weather over here has just been kind of dreary. There's like passing isolated shower, and then it stops raining, but then the surface of the road is so wet. So you try to find a dry line,
Right.
And before before it gets too dry, you have to decide if you want to get out and chance it before the next isolated shower comes passing overhead. And that's the way it's been for the last couple days. It's
I was
not ideal.
I noticed you guys were getting dumped on a lot past few days. I was going to mention that to you yesterday, but
quite a bit of wind.
Yeah, weather's not been very friendly there. Not at all. Now here, we had rain a few days ago, but it's nice now. It's sunny. It's still kind of chilly. Like, I think it's fall, Eddie. I'm not sure. It's 56 here, so I think it's fall now. You know what I mean?
But all in all, I can't complain, even though it's been chilly and kind of drizzly.
You can get out there and do it, yeah.
And windy as well, but that's still probably, in general, better than weather that they have in England usually.
Yes. Oh my God, it's got to be the most. I love the UK people too, and I'm grateful that we have so many. I just can't imagine, like, their weather just always seems so dreary, cloudy, and overcast. You know what I mean? I even asked one, I'm like, do you guys ever get sun over there? And it reminds me of funny because it reminds me of Ohio weather. We get sun like 4 times a year. That's all we get. Most of the rest of the year, Mother Nature's in a bad mood. We don't get it. William Tardy.
Yeah.
Again, my friend, thank you. Started off the next goal right out of the bat with 5 and then just dropped another one. Good Lord, brother. That's 2 out of 5 again already. We're only not even an hour in. Thank you so much, my friend. That is so very generous. God bless, bro. But yeah, the weather is I guess you're doing good, Eddie. As long as you can still ride the bike and there's no snow on the ground, that's all that matters.
That's right.
You're not freezing to death.
Seahawks fan, that's right. I'm out dodging the raindrops pretty much.
Right. Michelle said, I love the rain and I hate the sun. I like the sun. I don't like the heat. There's the difference. It's hard to take one with the other. If it could stay 75 degrees without humidity and sunny all year round, I'd probably be in my glory. But no, not where we live. Ohio don't get none of that. 9 times out of 10, it's just dreary and overcast always. I hate it. Yeah, I got I'm sorry to hear that, Denise. She said, Eddie, my son bought me a really nice new bike last year, but I haven't rode this year due to cancer pain, neuropathy in the right arm and hand. Well, hopefully that gets better, Denise, and you can actually start riding and get out there when the weather gets better. Welcome, Fox. Good to see you today. We enjoy our weather here, Dago. If you cut us, we bleed drizzle. Whatever works. I love having you guys here. I do. Love to hear what's going on over there. Michael 007 comes in here and he always tells me how the weather is and travels. And he moved, though. He moved to, I think it's Scotland now. He's not over in England anymore. Interesting. Contessa's in the house. Musical Contessa, good to see you today. Did I miss the last one? Was there another one? No, there's 2 out of 5. I dropped them both. There's that one there. He dropped them so fast I didn't get to see and then there's that one. Okay, so I was right. All right. I'm very sorry I didn't see the first one quick enough, but thank you very much again, William. I appreciate you, brother, so very much. Won't be hating. Good to see you today, and thank you again. Very much appreciated. Eddie, are you familiar? And Scotty's in here too. Scotty, we got a lot of you carriers that come in here. I love it. Are you familiar with Yogurt Shop Murders and or Amy Bradley? I think you were around when we covered both, but I'm not sure.
Pretty sure we covered the Yogurt Shop Murders together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, unless once we get into it, it'll refresh my memory. The Amy Bradley just doesn't ring a bell.
She's the one that I covered. She went missing off of a cruise ship. And it's very weird the way it went down. And there were thoughts of that she fell overboard first, and then it kind of went in a direction of like a trafficking situation, so on and so forth. So, and it's been a long time. That's been since 98. It might have been before. It's been so long since I've actually covered it. It was time for an update, but there are actual updates in this case from her brother, and we're going to review that and talk about it. It was a pretty wild situation. She was last seen sitting, I can't remember what they call the rooms on a cruise ship, but they have like little decks outside the door that you can sit out on, like a little porch type thing, and sit out there as the cruise is going on. And the last saw her at 5:30 in the morning the day she disappeared, sitting out there in her parents' stateroom. That's it, in the staterooms, off of a balcony, just sleeping. Okay, and within, I think it was a half hour, 45 minutes, she was gone. Nobody ever saw her after that. It was pretty weird, very weird, actually. So the case is quite interesting, to say the least. So we're going to be delving into that. I think we're going to do an update on the Sebastian Rogers situation. I haven't touched on that in quite a while. I feel guilty on that one.
Just contemplating falling off a ship. That's just dreadful. What a terrible way to go.
Agreed. And they said that they didn't believe it after a while, because I guess Amy was she was a lifeguard. She was classified as what could have been an Olympic swimmer. Very good, very athletic, in very good shape. And I'm thinking to myself, I get that, but when you're out in the open ocean and there's the force of a gigantic cruise ship pushing the water and stuff, like, I don't know that you could survive something like that.
Well, the height of the fall could do it alone.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
If it knocked you unconscious, you
could break your neck, your back, your arm, anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like hitting cement. I mean, there's not too many ways you can fall in and not sustain injury.
Agreed.
at that height. There was recently a U.S. sailor on a aircraft carrier that fell in, I think, in the Indian Ocean. They never found him.
Mm-mm.
That was just a couple months ago.
And you got to understand something, guys. The props from the motors and stuff that push these boats are monstrous. They're like the size of a house, okay? And the force that those things, the turbines turn those things, there's a lot of suction and vacuum, and it's just very hard to stay out of the pull from that in some senses too. So if you get down underneath that boat and that pulls you under, you're done. Like, you're not coming back up, in my opinion. And if you make, like Eddie said, if you fall off, because the height from that is like 100 foot in some cases, you know what I'm saying? So imagine dropping 100 foot into, granted it's water, but that's still like hitting concrete, like he said. And if you don't land the right way or straight in the water, you're done. It's not. Hell, I've dealt with that from water rescue and just lakes around here. So it's a scary thing. So they didn't think she did go in the water for that reason, but there were other reasons because people saw her. There was talk of a take care, Tandy. Don't work too hard, hon. I hope to see you later on. There was a bartender that didn't speak very good English that said lady kidnapped at one point, and then that they never went any further with that, which I thought was quite interesting. So we'll get into that too. It's pretty wild. Smiling Sleuth, good to see you today. Yes. So you followed it then, the yellow, right? Got exactly what you're talking about. So those are the two main we're going to jump into as far as the yogurt shop update, Amy Bradley update. And, for those of you that aren't familiar with either case, you'll get to know them. And then I'm going to look a little into the Sebastian Rogers situation because there really isn't much more. But we're going to talk just to get his name back out there, because that was a really important case to me, guys, because for those of you that aren't familiar, which I have high doubts of, but Sebastian Rogers was a 15-year-old autistic young man that went missing. It was well over a year and a half ago now, I think, if not longer. It was in February, and it was just, he disappeared into thin air, folks. There was no leads, no nothing. It's just a very odd case. And I put so much time into it, you guys, so much. And a lot of heart and soul, because that one bugged me immediately, because I have a son that's autistic as well. And it just reminded me a lot of him. And I couldn't imagine going through that with my child. So I delved into that one pretty deep, folks. I've lost a lot of sleep over that case, and it took me a long time to be able to detach myself from it. Welcome, Christina Reynolds. Good to see you. And there's still nothing really on this. There's a new FBI reward up to, I think it's $50,000. And people have looked at his mother and stepfather. People have looked at his father's death. And I have questions. I have trust issues with both sides of the fence there, but I hope that something good comes from this. I've always felt that Sebastian was still alive. Throughout that whole case. I know you've been around for that one too, Eddie. And it's been a long time now, though, folks, and I had to kind of deal with reality a little bit on that one and say, hey, it's a grand possibility he's not, because they found nothing. And I mean nothing, you guys. It's crazy. And that's what we're going to talk about, SRB, is the burner phone situation, which is pretty odd, but it made me look in another direction after I heard that. So we'll get into that too. That's pretty short-lived with what we have on it, so we'll go that way. Tomboy, welcome, and thank you for both the fingers. I love you too. That's 3 out of 5 on our goal. How long did it take you to put that together? That's cute. Love it, love it. Thank you, Tomboy. Oh, I love my blue crew. They're awesome. They really are. Thank you so much, hon. William Tardy. Yes, he is. I have questions for him too, though. I'm just saying. Some weird things going on there. It's all I'm going to get into. But anyway, let's jump into this. And I'm sure you guys are tired of listening to my mouth blab over this. And thanks again for being here and joining me, Eddie. I always love to hear your thoughts on these things when we look into these things. Very much so. So, we'll jump into this one here. Go with the yogurt shop stuff first. And again, that one was a long time long time as well. Another case that went cold and took a long time to come up with anything, and they're saying that it's solved. So,
Dago, before we get started, a couple
oh
things.
yeah, yes sir, go ahead.
I assume it'll still echo when the
Probably. I
the
don't know
video
why.
is up. Okay.
Yeah, and I found out, I did figure out yesterday, it only comes from whoever my guest is. They're the only one that echoes, but the guest hears it as well. So I don't know what's going on with it. I'm going to have to go in and maybe redo, like offload something and re-upload it or something like that. I don't know, but I will do that soon, hopefully. But go ahead with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Oh, and secondly, before I forget, happy birthday, Meg.
There we go. Yeah.
Happy 25th.
25th or 26th, one of the two, whatever it was. But yes, she's doing well. 25, 26 years old. I remember them years. It was a long time ago. Damn it, William, again. Lord have mercy. All right, so that will give us 4 out of 5. One more, guys. Two full goals, and we're not even into a full hour yet. That's amazing. Thank you so much. You do rock, William. I appreciate you, brother, so very much. God bless. Wow. Looks like Meg might end up getting confetti twice for her birthday in the chat today. 91 today. Oh, look, Scotty. Stirring up the box. Stirring it up. Stirring it up. I haven't been 25 in a long time, folks. Like 25 years. Close to. I'm 51 this year, next month. So do the math. Be nice when you do it, though. That's all I'm saying. All right. On we go. And it looks like SRB just killed it. There goes your confetti again, Meg. You got it twice in one day. Hey, there you go. Thank you, SRB. 2 full goals, guys. You guys are amazing. I'm going to let that sit. I think you guys have done more than enough for this channel today. I am greatly appreciated. You guys are also very generous, and I love each and every one of you for that. Thank you so very much. And enjoy that confetti, you guys. Thank you, SRB. Thank you. She wanted confetti. You guys are awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, I will be 51 years old, and I will be officially in my 50s November 23rd. Went by quick this year. All right, here we go. I got to be quiet now.
Thanks to advancements in science, thanks to the relentlessness of our committed detectives, and thanks to an unwavering commitment by the city of Austin, finally, we have an answer.
For more than 3 decades, the yogurt shop murders haunted Austin, Texas. 4 teenage girls brutally killed, a city left in shock, and a case that went cold. But now, there is finally a breakthrough, and it turns out this killer had apparently struck all over the country. We're going to break down how experts solved this case using decades-old evidence, cutting-edge DNA technology, and a painstaking cross-country investigation that finally uncovered the truth. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Now, you might remember hearing about this case, the yogurt shop murders out in Austin, Texas. 4 young teenage girls brutally killed at a frozen yogurt shop. It was recently featured, by the way, in a documentary series on HBO Max. And for decades, it was a mystery that haunted this city. But now, after more than 3 decades, Austin police say the case has finally been solved. And what a long road it was. We are talking decades of dead ends, false confessions, evidence that seemed impossible to process at the time. So we're going to walk you through all this. We're going to walk you through the breakthrough step by step from the old crime scene evidence to modern DNA technology. And we're going to show you how it all pointed to one shocking suspect who has now been linked to more crimes and more deaths. So this all began on December 6, 1991, at a small frozen yogurt shop in Austin called I Can't Believe It's Yogurt. You have 4 teenage girls, Amy Ayers, who is just 13 years old, Eliza Thomas, who is 17, and sisters Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, 17 and 15. They were all brutally killed The Harbison sisters had worked at the shop. Amy and Eliza, they were waiting for them to close up. And all 4 girls were attacked. They had been stripped naked, they had been bound, they had been gagged, and they were shot in the head. And then the building was set on fire. Now, police say a .22 was used, but for some reason, Amy was also shot with a .380 pistol. All the girls showed signs of sexual assault. This is a crime that shocked Austin. It left investigators with a nearly impossible case.
This one's a bit dark, folks.
Trigger warning. This video includes sensitive and violent content that may not be suitable for all viewers. This video is for 18 plus only. Trigger warning only.
And that's just in case some of the things that come out, they can be, there was a dark side, and there was a lot done to these 4 girls. It was really sad, and very, very unreal. So just to know, there could be some things talked about that might be a little touchy. So just get a heads up, guys.
And the scene itself was a nightmare for evidence collection. The fire, the water from firefighters, it destroyed much of the crime scene. But what was left, and this is important, what was left was that single .380 shell casing in the floor drain. Over the years, police chased thousands of leads. They dealt with multiple false confessions. They arrested 4 men, by the way. 2 confessed, implicated each other, but they later recanted. And DNA evidence ultimately excluded all 4 of them. So it led to the charges being dropped in 2009. For decades, this was a case that remained cold. But then, Detective Dan Jackson took over in 2022. And with modern technology, investigators started re-examining old evidence. And that lone .380 shell casing was submitted to the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network and linked to an unsolved 1998 murder out in Kentucky. And at the same time, investigators retested the sexual assault kits using YSTR DNA, which traces male lineage. Now, we wanted to bring this case to you, and the reason that we can do that is because of the support that we get from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest for what you deserve, Morgan & Shockwaves, through the investigation. The breakthrough came when Detective Jackson coordinated a manual search of YSTR DNA at labs all over the country, and only 1 lab responded with a match, a connection that would send shockwaves through the investigation and would point toward a suspect with a chilling criminal history. Now, we're going to get into all those details in a minute, but to help me break down this latest breakthrough, I want to bring on a special guest, Joe Kennedy, retired special agent for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Joe, thanks so much for coming here on Sidebar. Appreciate it.
Jesse, thanks for having me today. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, these yogurt shop murders, this is a really bizarre case. I mean, it remained unsolved for over 30 years. But from your perspective, your experience, let's just start here. What keeps some cases cold for so long?
Well, one of it is bystander behavior. Jesse, you know, witnesses are just reluctant to come forward with the information that they have or the knowledge about a particular crime that has transpired. Also, you know, technology. If you go back to some of these old cases like this one, and, you know, we're talking about in 1991, this is, you know, DNA was really in its infant stages. You know, we didn't even have CODIS. We didn't have the combined DNA index system to actually track offenders, you know, across the country.
Yeah, when you have advances like YSTR DNA testing and ballistic databases, you know, even aside from cell phone evidence, which, you know, this basically is on everybody's person and can track them. But when you have advances like...
For those of you that aren't familiar, we all know who Gabrielle Vargas is from the Idaho 4 situation. She was the one that helped with this as well. So just so you guys know, a little heads up there.
DNA evidence and ballistics, that changes the game, right? That changes the game for cold cases?
Oh, 100%, Jesse. What we've seen, you know, really since the Golden State Killer is just an explosion in the use of genetic genealogy. You know, NIBIN, you're referring to ballistics, you know, that database is vastly underutilized. I still think today where we're not entering those old shell casings and cases from 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. But it's really, you know, the big game changer here. And, you know, this individual was actually identified in a murder down in Greenville, South Carolina, 2018. And what's interesting about that is that was kind of, very before the Golden State Killer. When you look at it, Golden State was what, April of 18. So I think this case was right on the heels of it. So that technology, they actually exhumed his body in Arkansas and obtained some, a DNA extract from, I think, a pinky finger and a tooth, which is kind of interesting because, at that point, that would have been considered, really some cutting edge technology, or the early stages of genetic genealogy.
So let me break that down. Let me break down what made this case so hard to solve and how modern science finally brought answers after decades. So Austin's mayor opened a press conference on Monday, September 29th, by announcing this long-awaited breakthrough.
Over 3 decades after a horrible crime took the lives of 4 teenage girls and changed Austin forever, our hearts haven't healed. They're still broken for the precious girls we lost. We've never stopped sending our love and our prayers to their families. As all of you know, the Austin police have announced that a significant breakthrough has been made in the yogurt shop murder case. The detectives today will outline the timeline and process of their investigation. Their investigation is thorough and relies on technology that was not available back then. This day has been a long time coming. More than a quarter century ago, in a circumstance much like this today, I said that Austin lost its innocence the night those young souls became victims. Today, we have some closure. We are different people in a different city. Time has passed. We have endured more, have been disappointed, and have felt defeated and devastated. But today, with the resilience needed to endure something this painful, recognizing the scars, the suffering, and while there's no change to the horror, no wiping away any of the wrongs, no diminishing the grief, we can finally express a deep sigh, a release that comes from knowing. Thanks to advancements in science, thanks to the relentlessness of our committed detectives who have lived and breathed this case for decades, thanks to the support of Austin Forensics, and thanks to an unwavering commitment by the city of Austin, finally, we have an answer.
Now, Austin's police chief then revealed the name of the man now linked to this crime through DNA evidence, a serial offender who actually died by his own hand in 1999.
After 34 years, the Austin police have made a significant breakthrough in this case. This is one of the most devastating and haunting cases. As a mother, I cannot begin to imagine just the grief and the pain that you have endured. For the families of Amy, Eliza, Sarah.
Welcome, Scully. Good to see you, brother.
And Jennifer, today marks a critical step forward in honoring not only their memory, but getting at truth and accountability. We now have evidence linking a specific individual to this case, Robert Eugene Brashers. The only physical evidence located at that scene has been matched to him. Brashers died by suicide in 1999 after a standoff with police in Missouri. And his DNA has since been, and before this connection, he has been connected to murders and rapes across the country.
So, Joe, you think they got it right here? Is Robert Brashers the man?
Well, I think in this occasion, they finally have arrived at the correct perpetrator. You know, there were some individuals that were previously arrested. There were some wrongful conviction issues going on with those arrests. But, you know, the science doesn't lie, Jesse. And, you know, when we get into today's modern, you know, cold case detective, what we're looking at is that, you know, almost daily usage of genetic genealogy, you know, coupled with things like NIBIN and some of the other databases that just weren't available. And remember that what keeps most serial offenders from being, you know, identified and apprehended is their mobility. And if you look at this guy's background, I mean, you know, he's all across the southern states of the United States and ends up even in Missouri. And, you know, his crimes, they're not about the sex, right? A lot of them appear to be a sexual motive, but that motive is really about power and control and dominance. And you see that. What's very interesting in this case to me is the age of some of these victims. You know, he had a proclivity for young women, teenagers, and that reveals itself not only in the yogurt shop murders, but some of these other cases that he's been identified as being involved in.
Yeah, that's a pretty grotesque part about this. The fact that he's dead.
Thank you, Bemmy. And I'm going to say real quick, I'm going to pause this for a minute. I mean, I trust in the science. Okay, I get it. Thank you, Bemmy. I'm going to look into that for sure. I wrote that down. But it's hard to believe one man had control of that whole situation that whole time. And with everything that went on, mind you, too. That's my only issue with this whole thing. And I'm not saying they're wrong, okay? But 30 years later, I just have questions about one person committing this crime. That's my only issue with this. That's all. I don't know. Any thoughts, Eddie, before we go forward?
I don't want to rock the boat, but
Sure.
I can easily see it with a firearm.
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I guess with a gun, you could control younger people like that. Sure, that does make some sense. Yeah,
Because there's always the promise of hope. That's the tactic, is if you do the following, then that equates to your safety and the safety of, your friends here.
Friends. And I guess, the fact that they were younger, they were kids basically. Okay. And that must make sense. A gun, all you have to have is a stern voice, a gun, and be threatening. And I guess, they're going to do what they're told, so on and so forth. I just struggled knowing that there was SA to all of them, signs of it, I should say, and they were all undressed. I mean, but the idea of a gun is enough to scare everybody and anybody. So just saying, that was my only question in this, was about the perpetrators. I always thought that there was multiple. I always did. So that's probably why I have that question, or had that question. But I do trust in this. I do. They put a lot of time and effort into this. And this guy here, I've looked into him before. He's really good at what he does. And the guy that they brought on board that was working on this, and of course, Gabriela Vargas, we all know who she is. So, I mean, like, the people they had working this are good people. They're good, very good at what they do. So just saying.
Well,
Now,
as the time passed, he would have continually exhibited more and more control over the situation. They wouldn't have been just, free to run and free to do throughout the entire thing. It would have been initially, that would have been their moment. But since they complied in order to get him to not, threaten harm or take a life, then that gave him the advantage. He probably then continually tightened down the control over them all.
Yes.
In some form or fashion, who knows?
And being bound, they can't move around. They can't do this. They can't do that. And each person, you have more control over at that point. So agreed. Good point. Very good point. Yes, I have to say I agree with you as well. Good to see you, Bemmy. Or Scully. Sorry, bro. And I'm with SRB on that too. Good point, buddy. Good point. On we go.
Been dead for so long. How does that complicate the investigation? I mean, if we're talking about unsolved crimes and we're talking about cold cases, if the suspect dies, they're no longer leaving a trail for years and years and years. Does that delay justice? Does that delay identifying a perpetrator if the person is dead?
Oh, absolutely, because you lose the ability to track their freedom of movement. How do they move about? Do they use public transportation? Do they use a vehicle? How did he get across the country? And mobility is so important, Jesse. And once the offender is dead, then we have to resort to clearing that case, what we call exceptionally cleared, right? We could prove that he did it. If he were still here alive today, we would charge him with that offense. But you'll see that once the suspect is dead, that kind of limits the investigators in some avenues. However, there's this technique that many cold case investigators use, and it's called an NCIC offline check. And that's where you'll see as offenders like this individual who committed the yogurt shop murders, as they travel around the country, sometimes they're stopped by law enforcement and they're not arrested. Maybe it's a traffic violation, or, you know, they're trespassing or something. And so their name is queried into the national database, but that's really all that happens at the time of that event. And then as cold case investigators use that NCIC offline capability, and I'm sure the FBI's behavioral analysis unit is intimately involved in this case as well by now in helping to try to track those movements by using that exact feature that I'm referring to you.
When you have only one piece of physical evidence linking him, though, how are investigators sure? How are they sure that that single item can definitively identify a perpetrator, particularly when you talk about a crime from so many years ago?
Well, Jesse, we can never determine how and when DNA got to a crime scene, right? We can only determine it's there. What's unique in this case, in addition to the DNA evidence, we also have a shell casing match, which I think is very important. You know, the current cold case detective there in Texas went back, got engaged in NIBIN, you know, the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. And that thing is also a game changer, along with genetic genealogy. And it was a great investigative step. And what he was able to do is link one of those shell casings, and I think it was the only shell casing they had in Texas, and link it to one of the other cases that he had been attributed to being involved in.
Yeah, the mayor did something. The mayor highlighted this use of technology, which we've been talking about, that was not available back then, right? That was the phrase. It was not available back then, which made me wonder, if you had the yogurt shop murders today in 2025, would it take decades to solve or no?
No, probably not. The databases are so good, the explosion of genetic genealogy, the daily use of the NIBIN database. You know, most major cities across the country, just shots are fired in the city. Patrol officers are required to go and gather those shell casings, even if no one was killed or injured, right? Just so they can be entered into the database and maybe subsequently later, you know, associated with a particular offender or a particular crime. So I think there's no way that this case would have taken as long if it was committed here in 2025.
Now, something you mentioned, so lead detective Dan Jackson outlined this horrific crime scene, but also explained how a ballistics match to a separate killing out in Kentucky, that is what first put them on the trail.
So the gist of the MO of this case was the perpetrator entered or remained near closing time when no other customers were present. The girls were found nude and had been tied up with their own clothing as ligatures and bindings. There was evidence of sexual assault. All four had been shot in the head with a .22 caliber pistol, and Amy was also shot with a .380 pistol. And then the building was set on fire before the suspect left the scene. The morning of July 2nd, the ATF sent the .380 cartridge, and that afternoon I was notified of a hit out of Kentucky, an unsolved murder out of Kentucky. So I can't name the name of the city. They haven't done their press release yet, but they know who they are, and they did a fantastic job. But myself, a couple others from the cold case unit, and Mindy Monfort from the AG's office, we flew up to Kentucky to review our cases with their detectives. And the murders did share similar details. I can't go into those. But the preliminary NIBIN results indicate.
All right, guys, give me a minute here. So as far as Mark's question, can they put this guy in the state of Texas without the bullet? I don't think so. I think that was the only evidence they had from what I understood. And then Eddie says ballistics match. What does that mean exactly? Well,
we don't know. Just, you know, what we're giving through their conversation, Jesse Weber said they had a ballistics match.
Yes.
Just given that doesn't mean anything. That just sounds techie. It sounds convincing. And if nothing else follows, then, you know, society runs with, well, they match the ballistics. But ballistics is a wide-ranging term. It doesn't really get specific. although it could get specific depending on what we're talking about in ballistics.
Yeah, right.
It was a 380 auto. It was at the ballistics match. I mean, that's a very common cartridge. It's used, more than likely, a good majority of the people watching your live stream right now have that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It just
Very common.
without any more context, it's kind of, I don't know.
I get it. I get it 100%. It's a good point.
Confusing.
Yeah, it's a good reason to make a talking point there with that as well. Tomboy said the sanctions match with the Kentucky crime that was linked to him, and that's okay. So there's that. That's a little more. See when they put something like that out, like Jesse Weber should have put a little more detail on the end of it, just to give some more, insight into what they're talking about. Welcome, Lisa. Good to see you today. But thank you, Tomboy, for that. But yeah, good point. Very good point. Like, what are they talking about exactly? Exactly in what aspect and why? And there it is. So
right, because it could, so the cartridge was similar. That could be a ballistics match, or if you retrieved the projectile and then the rifling etch marks in the projectile were, under a microscope the same, then that's a ballistics match.
Like what they claimed they did in the Delphi case, for instance, they said that the bullet that they found between the two victims matched Richard Allen's gun, but they only knew that because they said it had been racked through his gun because of the marks on the bullet. Well, it wasn't clear cut like that either. So you got to watch these things, but this was a whole different scenario, and they matched it up to multiple things. So
right, and that is junk science.
Yes, it is very much so. I was going to say that too, but thank you. Absolutely.
So you have a weapon that fires a 9mm. Say it's a Glock, and say someone else has a Glock, fires 9mm, and you chamber around, and then don't fire it. You just eject it. Now, whatever markings are on that unfired cartridge, is that particular to your weapon? Would it leave exact markings? And the answer is no.
Nope.
So you bring up a good point. So my question would be, so they have a 380 spent cartridge at this yogurt shop, and there's been a fire on top of it all. I wonder if it's affected by the fire. We don't know, but say it's not. So it's the spent brass. It's a fired cartridge.
Yeah.
Well, that's not, the projectile with the rifling marks. That's just a cartridge that has been fired. That's ejected from a weapon. I wonder if the science on that is, what's the difference of the science of that versus the unfired cartridge? I wonder. I don't know.
And they said that was the only thing that survived the fire and the water damage from the firefighters, from the fire. All that other stuff was that one bullet. And I was like, okay, it's interesting. Like I said, I like having these conversations about these cases so people understand these things. He was classified as a serial, and what that linked him to several other deaths, right? And that's part of how that worked out for them in this case, yes. But these are good points to understand about, like, bullets and things like that, rifling marks and all that stuff. It's very important that, to understand those things and to know what those mean. And it's done the right way, okay? To be able to
it's done
do
the
that.
right way.
It has to be done the right way. Well, and again, for instance, in the Delphi case, that was their big one. That was the big bang. That bullet and all this stuff that they said was racked through Richard Allen's gun, which was, again, another gun that's very common to people in society, folks. Lots of people have this same weapon, okay? And when they got to trial, the expert said that she couldn't prove that it had been racked through the gun until it had been fired through a chamber out of it, which it completely killed the whole point. So again, junk science, okay? It was a joke. And again, it completely, in my opinion, it completely kills the evidence. There's nothing left there at that point because you completely just did something you weren't supposed to do or should have had to do based on what you said. Again, it was bullshit. Sorry. South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri crime and murders were all linked to him with the DNA. Okay. And see, that's a whole different story. Plus the Kentucky situation too. Thank you, Tomboy. I know Tomboy knows a lot about this. She's living in Texas and is followed this for the whole thing. So good stuff. And thank you. I appreciate your input as well. And Eddie, thank you for making those points. It's very important to understand all that stuff, you guys, when it comes to cases like this. So, thank you, Meg. And on we go.
A presumptive positive correlation between the two casings, indicating the same gun was used in Yogurt Shop as it was several years. I'm not going to even tell you the date. Oh, it's up there, 98. So all the way to 1998.
But the definitive break in this case came from a first of its kind manual DNA search that led them back to Robert Brashears.
We reached out to all the labs in the country that do YSTR typing and asked if they could manually search against our unknown profile. And we got a match. We got a hit. Only one. The South Carolina State Lab was the only lab in the country that responded that they had a match, quote match, to our unknown YSTR. All the others had no hits at that level. And I'm talking, this is at 27 to 27 markers. This is the full profile, and every allele was the same. So it took us a couple of weeks. The results were reviewed for accuracy, and their legal department reviewed it. There was like the longest 2 weeks because we knew we had somebody, but they wouldn't tell us. So it was a long 2 weeks. The reason it took 2 weeks to review, I found out later, is because they wanted to make sure they were doing it right, because I was the first person to ever ask them for this. Nobody had requested a manual search against their database.
Nope. I don't know what happened. Hold on. Sorry, you guys.
They were on the right footing, and there was no quality assurance issues. So on August 22nd, they sent me the information, and it was from a sexual assault and murder from 1990, and this was the profile that they had, Robert Eugene Brashears. He is a perfect 27 for 27 match to our unknown profile in Yogurt Shop. I got on the phone with Greenville, South Carolina immediately, and we started conversations about our different cases and how they similar. And one of the things he said to me was, he said, he didn't know anything about the case. He didn't know what it was. And he said, your victims, were they bound with their own clothing? And the hair stood on the back of my neck. And I knew we were maybe getting somewhere finally with this case.
Joe, just one thing I want to go back to with this Yogurt Shop killing. This was awful. I mean, you're talking about a scene of binding, sexual assault, shooting, arson. How do investigators even approach a scene like that? By the way, one that's been partially destroyed by fire and other elements.
Yeah, so interestingly, what we would do, Jesse, is, as offenders leave physical evidence at a scene, like their DNA or, say, a shell casing, they also deposit their personality, right? They leave their thoughts, feelings, and emotions at a scene. And so that's what we have to evaluate in addition to the physical evidence to help us get to the rightful offender. And what you're going to see in this individual's case is, there's a lot of issues going on with him that would be, he'd be classified as a sociopath today. There's no doubt. And you're going to see that this originated or started in him very early in his life. And so that's one thing that we would put a lot of emphasis on is, where was he raised? Who raised him? What was he exposed to as a young person? Because this is where we see some of this, just evil, pure evil and anger. And as we look at crime scenes, think of it like this, Jesse. We're looking to find three things. We're looking for anger, control, or remorse. There's obviously no remorse in any of his crime scenes. So that leads us down that sociopath, angle. And you see a lot of control, though, in the scene, but what you see most of all is anger. There's a lot of slashing and tearing of victims. There's an escalation of assaultive behavior. He carries out his crime in front of witnesses. So,
and again, I'm going to break on that because I want to make a statement based on that. With what we have seen, not to reference it, but we always do, the Idaho 4 case, because it's the biggest one. The person that committed this crime, the Yogurt Shop murders, in my opinion, that is the type of person, in my mind and my opinion, that committed the Idaho 4 crimes. anger, detachment, things like that. Okay, there's no remorse. There's none of that stuff, in my opinion. It seems that yeah, right, Michigan girl. It kind of lines up, guys. There's a lot of parallels there. We have 4 victims. We have, minus the essay, but the type of things that were done. In a sense, you attacked 4 people at one time. That's where it lines up, and they're claiming one person did this in Idaho. If there's a handgun involved or any kind of gun, that's how you control that situation. And we've always said that with the Idaho case. But this is the kind of person I imagine doing that crime in Idaho, and always have. Okay, not the guy that they have in prison for this, and that's why I don't see that personally. Okay. That's another reason why, like Willie explaining how Brian was when he was in school, this, that, and everything else. And I know people change, folks, but not that much. That's all I was saying, personality wise, things like that. So go ahead, Eddie.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want to rock the boat again.
I know you do it a lot, and it's okay. I like it.
Do you genuinely feel? Well, 2 things would have to be true then. That a lone perpetrator was involved in the Idaho 4, and the lone perpetrator's motive would be the rage, the anger type of.
Well, let me
where it originates, where his reasoning for doing such a thing would originate.
Let me rephrase then. What I mean to say, what I should have said was, these are the type of people, meaning more than one, that I see committing the Idaho crimes. Angry people that have a lot of rage within them. That kind of, I've never thought it was one person. You guys know that. So I should have phrased it that way the first time.
Not to over-examine it or overthink it, but if more than one, in other words,
yeah,
then
absolutely.
That kind of rules out the anger or the rage. That's more like purposeful, like maybe strictly business, nothing personal, right?
Well, not necessarily, in my opinion. Okay, so if it was like this one here, I think this guy was just a sociopath that enjoyed doing what he did. That's all. That's with the yogurt shop thing. That's my opinion there.
Right. On this, the yogurt shop one, let's just discount that from our minds.
Right. Now, but if we go to Idaho, hey, typically, good to see you today, dear. I think the people involved were, whether it was anger or rage or whatever it was, that's, in my opinion, that's their day-to-day personality. That when they get into this situation, for whatever the motive was, of course, there is no answer to that. That's what comes out of them when they get into a situation like this. That's how I.
Okay, I can kind of see where you're. Yeah. It's no matter if it's even business, nothing personal, just business. Then it's still get the right character to do that would absolutely be unhinged, just normally through everyday life. Yeah. Okay.
I should have clarified that. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like the type of person, sociopathic, like personality per se, that when you flip that switch, that person goes apeshit and it turns ugly immediately. Whatever it is, business or not business, that's the type of person this is, in my opinion. These people, I should say. So that was just something I wanted to point out, that's with what we know, and there's probably more to it about the Idaho victims and the damage that was done to the wounds and the, how they were handled. That's my point, is what it is. Somebody that can do those things is just a dark person. That's all I'm saying. So
I see it. I understand it.
Absolutely. Sorry. And like I said, it's my fault because I didn't fully describe my thought. I just threw it out there real quick. So that was my fault. So on we go. And by the way, rocking the boat, I love when you do that because it makes me think and make sure that I'm expressing myself the right way too. So that's what it's all about. That's why I like having the discussions about these things. Welcome, Yvonne. Good to see you as well. Well, and here's the thing with that. One thing that bothers me in the Idaho 4 case is that Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan were covered with blankets. Here's the thing, though. They told us that, Yvonne. We don't know if that happened after they were found. We don't know if that Hunter did that. We don't know when he supposedly found them. We don't know how that went down. So that's one thing you got to think about beforehand. Or it was somebody that does have compassion, and I'm completely wrong. So there's both. It can go a couple different ways. You know what I mean? But it's a good point. I like the point, Yvonne. Very good point. On we go. Thank you guys all for being here for this today. I appreciate you very much.
You know, these are the clues, or the behavioral clues, as we call them, the behavioral manifestations of the crime scene that we're looking at to put the pieces of the puzzle together to hopefully get to that correct offender.
Was it strange that you have a perpetrator using multiple firearms, right? The 22 caliber, the 380. Obviously, we talked about ballistics evidence, but the fact that 2 firearms were used, is that strange to you?
Well, I mean, you know, typically when folks are killed, it's one instrument or agent of death. And the fact that he had 2 or used to, it could have been a lack of ammunition. It could have been a lack of, you know, just the ability to use a certain gun, or maybe it was a gun that was stolen. Some of his prior criminal history before the yogurt shop murders, you will see they involve guns and firearms. So maybe, you know, he had an affinity for these, you know, for guns. And so he had, you know, more than one. That's not that odd, honestly.
By the way, this ballistics match to this separate 1998 murder in Kentucky, that was huge. You mentioned it. It was so pivotal. But how do investigators identify links between crimes across different states and agencies? How does that work?
Well, again, it's cooperation and collaboration. And, you know, it goes to databases, though, whether you're looking at fingerprints through the automated fingerprint identification system, or the FBI's next generation identification, or what was used in this case, which is, you know, ATF's National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. That's where we're able to use that database to link these shell casings, not only cases in a particular jurisdiction or a local jurisdiction, but we can, you know, essentially track an offender's movements by where those guns are used.
Yeah, and then there's the DNA. So the detectives, they conducted this, again, what we believe is a first of its kind manual YSTR DNA search. Can you explain why a manual search was necessary, if I'm understanding this correctly, and why standard searches might not add up here, might not be sufficient?
Yeah, so, you know, what we have to upload into CODIS, which is our national DNA database, is we have to have a full profile. You know, we have to have a primary contributor. What happens in a lot of cases is you have partial profile, or maybe some low level or degraded DNA. And so what is going on in this particular case is once Greenville determines who they think the offender is, they exhume his body, and to get a reference sample back to the DNA that was left at the crime scene, because it's not existing in some database. And so that direct comparison, right, was a match. But what happens in that is there's no DNA left. It's all consumed to actually complete the DNA analysis. So, you know, you have to rely on that one-to-one, you know, confirmation. And in this case, that's what happened.
Now, talking about the families here, the families of the victims, as you can imagine, the announcement was just an emotional moment. It's a long-awaited truth and answer, and the gratitude for the investigators who never gave up. It was quite vocal. Take a look.
I'm really excited about being here. It's been a crazy couple of days, and I just really came here to say I'm full of gratitude. It has been so long, and all we ever wanted for this case was the truth. We never wanted anyone to go to jail or be charged with anything that they did not do. Vengeance was never it. It was always the truth. And I'm here to really talk about the police department and how involved and supportive they have been from the very beginning. We have Mike Huckabee, and please keep him in your prayers. His health is bad. So, and him and John Jones, they were the first people that we fell in love with on the force, because they told us about what had happened. And starting with those guys 34 years ago, they were been in our lives and our families all of this time. And every officer that I see in Austin that has been there for us and loved us, and what they have done, people don't understand how hard they work. Everybody is concerned for the solving of the case. Everybody was concerned about all of us here. because they know the tragedy was so painful and continues to be. But I really just came to say thank you for the Austin Police Department and all the love and support that you have given us over these 34 years. And I thank you for that.
So at the news conference, Amy Ayers' father, Bob Ayers, presented Detective Jackson with a pin that says, quote, "We will never forget." That is a very powerful moment. For the families here, Joe, who maybe thought there would never be any kind of conclusion, any kind of answers, what is that journey like? You know, they never sought vengeance. They only look for the truth. How do families of victims in cold cases, I mean, what is that like for them?
Jesse, it's horrific. It's a difficult path every day because you have to wake up and that loved one is gone. You know, there's this misnomer in cold case work that once a case is closed, that a family gets closure. And that's actually not true. What we give families is resolution as to what happened. That loved one's not coming back. You'll hear people describe it as like I wake up and it's like you're pulling the scab off of the old wound again. And it has a dramatic effect on families. I mean, it changes or alters how they behave and how they interact. You'll see that a lot of folks, there's separation and divorce that come into families of cold case victims because, you know, the coping is just, you know, it's a whole new, you know, experience for them. And that loved one is gone, and it will significantly change family dynamics very often.
How do investigators build up that trust? I imagine they have to have this continuing relationship with the families. Maybe not always, but they should, right? Build trust, maintain communication with the families over a long investigation. I mean, investigators have other cases that they have to attend to too. It doesn't mean one is more significant than the other, but what is that relationship, or what should that relationship look like?
Well, I'm going to use a word that may sound a little strange, Jesse, but it's intimacy. We have to create intimacy with those families. We have to gain their trust. You know, they have to see our compassion, that the only reason we really do these cases is for them and for that reason. They also have to realize that the cold case investigator that's representing them and their family is competent, that they know what in the hell they're doing. And then lastly, that they always have good character and do the right things, right? And that comes down to the trust factor. When you think of those three things, I always say this: cold case investigators have to be compassionate, they have to be competent at what they're doing, and they have to have good character. And one of the biggest responsibilities is interacting with those families because, you know, we all die, you know, of old age or disease or what have you, but someone shouldn't be able to control the lifespan of a victim, Jesse. And so that's what motivates many of us, is we realize how precious life is and how much that person meant to that family. And that's why we even do cold cases to start with.
And particularly victims this young, this vulnerable. It's just a sad situation. But look, there is a conclusion here. There is a sense of resolution. Our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts are with the families as they navigate now this new chapter of it, right? Trying to make sense of what happened here. There's not a sense of justice in that Brashears was arrested and is going to be put on trial, but you know, this is excellent police work, and it is a conclusion to quite the case. Joe Kennedy, thank you so much for taking the time. It was good seeing you.
Jesse, good to see you. God bless you, sir.
And that, my friends, is the way an investigation should be run, in my opinion, not what we've seen in Idaho by any means. I think there's a lot more involvement here and a lot more truth and real justice that was applied in this case with what resources they had at the time. Remember, it's 30 plus years old. When they got the resources that are available to us these days is when things happened. So that's the good side to it, in my opinion. Sadly, it took that long, you know, to get closure. And unfortunately, there was no justice as far as the perpetrator being brought to justice in that aspect. He was a coward and took his own life. Took his own life. So there's that as well. Hey, JC, good to see you, dear. But so that's the outcome for that one, guys, and the update on that. And thank Lord it's handled, you know. And hopefully they're on point with that, and there's no any extra little pieces that are going to come out later on, hopefully. So any thoughts, Eddie? Final thoughts on that one?
It's just too bad that there won't be any true justice because he did take his own life. There won't be a trial. I would love to see, regardless if it was this potential trial, if there had been one, or a similar trial where the prosecution and the defense would, how that ejected spent casing ballistics match would hold up during litigation. It's just, I'm not sold on the fact that it's forensic science. I never heard of that. I've heard of the rifling marks on the projectile. We're all familiar with that, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I've seen ballistics. That there was a little bit more to it with the. Besides that, they had the DNA stuff that they worked through and all that too. But now I see what you're saying as far as the ballistic side to it goes. I agree with you.
Just think about the variables. Like, okay, let's just say with the same weapon, let's say that you disassemble and clean and detail your weapon, then you fire one cartridge, one round through it, and then you take it to the range and fire thousands of rounds through it. You throw it into the dust, don't clean it, and it's just filthy. There's a lot of grit in the chamber, etc. And then you put another cartridge in there, and then you save that spent cartridge. And think of all the marks from sand debris and just carbon and whatever else.
I know.
There's just too many variables. I just don't see it. And then, so the extractor on your Glock would be the same as it's the same part as an extractor on any other Glock, similar model.
That's my biggest issue with the Delphi case, Eddie. Same thing. That's why I don't understand how they were going to try to explain and show that. And then they proved that they couldn't at the end. You know what I mean? So bingo, there it is. But those were my same questions in Delphi. Like, explain to me how you're going to prove this now. After 7 years, especially 6 years, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? That's when this happened, was 6 years ago in that case. So explain to me exactly how you're going to do this now. You don't know how many times this gun's been used, fired, where, how, when, and all of that stuff should be taken into account, in my opinion. Oh, it matched right up. No, it didn't. Stop. That's how we knew in some aspect that there was some corruption there. And again,
go ahead, Dago. I stepped on top of you.
I was just saying, no. I was just saying, and again, here we are, same. There we are again, same situation. Go ahead,
guys. Just think of how easy it is for them to inject this talking point into the masses. Like, you got this panel, and these experts are talking, and they just right there they establish that it's science, that they do this, and then we echo it. We sit out here and we say what they said. And keep in mind, years ago, teeth marks were thought to be reliable forensic science, and we now know it absolutely is not. And how many have forgotten that? If these two panelists were up there talking about, the teeth marks match, I mean, I would dare say the majority of us would just run with it. Oh, they matched up the bite marks, and they got them.
Anybody that doesn't know or understand or have a clue of how this stuff works, then of course, why not? Yeah. But to label it as valid and reliable science is a hard thing to do, in my opinion. That's where the term junk science comes into effect in a lot of situations, in my opinion. So good points, very good points. And
I just have a lot of questions around the spent case. Now, as far as the DNA goes, I trust that.
Right, especially nowadays, and with who they had working on it, like I said, I do very, very much trust Gabriela Vargas. She's very good at what she does. Obviously, when she stepped into Idaho, and then Bill Thompson sends the FBI to her door and basically threatens her for a reason. It's not just because she was not good at her job. I'll just put it that way. So take that into effect as well. I trust with what she does. She's very good at it. She's shown multiple proof in multiple different situations of how good she is. So there you go with that. But yeah, I agree with you on that one too. And Siggy said Jake Harrow pled guilty for the unaliving of his baby son. Oh my God. That is one that definitely deserves a trial, but that case, I covered it very slightly, and it was very hard to cover because of the situation. It drove me nuts. Those two, mother and father, just bugged me. So thanks for the update, though, Sticky. I appreciate it very much. Very, very much. Bad situation.
Real quick.
Yeah.
You know, Othram Labs and the IGG has just made the news recently, again, in another cold case, a 1994 case of the murder of a Navy sailor's pregnant wife.
Yes. You are right.
DNA evidence helped free her brother-in-law, Michael Ziegler, who was a friend of the woman who was murdered, Tina Hines.
Yes, that's very true. Very
They
true.
identified Michael Ziegler through IGG. And that's just current events.
Yeah.
I think that was in September.
Like I said, you guys, it's a good thing on cold cases. It is. But the way that it was used in the Idaho case, I'm not. I just don't.
That's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, 100%. There you go. Good way to put it too. Absolutely. It's actually the IGG stuff has really lately helped us solve a lot of cold cases, guys, and I'm very excited and happy about that. If it's used the right way, once again, and done the right way, and it's followed by the letter of the law, it's 100% a great thing. So yeah, that case he's talking about there, that's really kind of to see somebody that is convicted, put in jail, or accused of something, and then this can prove that not to be true. And guys, that's what we're saying. That's what people argue all the time. Well, he admitted that he did it, which he didn't, but you know what I mean, Brian Koberger. So he must have done. No, here's somebody else that's sitting in prison, and there's many other people that are sitting in prison that have admitted to things, and 30, 40, 50 years down the road, they're proven to be innocent on it. Remember that when you think those things, is all I'm saying. Sometimes people have to do things to better their situation at that point in time or down the road. You just never know. That's all I'm saying. Good points. Good points. Good points. Thank you, Eddie, for your input on this. Truly appreciate you. I guess next up, guys, for those of you that are not familiar with the next the next case we're going to be looking at and updated on is the Amy Bradley case. Again, this is another cold case that's been cold for quite a while. She disappeared years and years ago off of a cruise ship. And the year slipped my mind, but they're going to tell us here in a minute. And they're getting close. It seemed they believe they're getting close to possibly having some answers here. There's definitely some updates. So we're going to go with Court TV on this and give the updates. Her brother jumps on here. I have a couple different things on this actually, but actually let me do this one first, and then we'll jump into it, and we'll discuss this as well. Give me a quick second here just to give a little quick backstory.
Amy Bradley. She's a young woman who disappeared on a cruise 28 happened to Amy Bradley. She's a young woman who disappeared on a cruise 28 years ago while vacationing with her family. Did she fall overboard in a tragic accident? Was she kidnapped and sold to a human trafficking ring? Les Trent says the mystery is now the subject of a major documentary on Netflix.
Is the long-running mystery of Amy Bradley's disappearance close to being solved? A new Netflix documentary about the baffling case is triggering an avalanche of fresh tips.
We've been contacted by thousands of people.
23-year-old Amy was on a Caribbean cruise with her brother and their parents in 1998. The three-part Netflix documentary, Amy Bradley is Missing, shows this footage of her having a great time dancing in the ship's nightclub. But she vanished without a trace as the boat was about to dock in the Caribbean island of Curacao. Her family raised the alarm, but a thorough search of the ship and the ocean proved fruitless.
Did she inadvertently fall off? Did she commit suicide? Did something nefarious occur where she smuggled off the ship? That puzzle is extremely difficult to put together.
Today, Amy's brother Brad tells me the family discounts the theory that she fell or jumped overboard.
They assured us that if she was in the water, she would have been found, or at least something would have been found.
The mystery is being fueled by reported sightings of Amy years after she disappeared. She has supposedly been seen in Curacao and in Barbados, giving rise to speculation that she may have been kidnapped by a ring of human traffickers. The FBI produced these age progression photos of what Amy may look like over the years. She would now be 51 years old. What has been sort of the working theory of your family about what happened to her?
We've all shared a gut feeling that's never gone away, that she's still alive and she's still out there. And what we believe is that Amy was trafficked.
If you could talk to your sister right now, what would you say to her?
Amy, we've never stopped looking for you. We've missed you for 27 years.
More than 2 decades later, Amy Bradley's case is considered to be one of the most baffling missing persons cases in modern history.
And that it is. Welcome, Kent. Good to see you. Let's see here. So yeah. I'm gonna jump into this one here. Cockney. Good to see you, by the way, and WBU as well. They bring you back. I doubt it. On we go.
Amy Bradley's story has captivated the nation. The Netflix documentary, Amy Bradley is Missing, has garnered tens of millions of views. Viewers are so curious about what happened to the 23-year-old, how she could have just vanished without a trace from a packed cruise ship.
Around 5:30 in the morning, I saw Amy on the balcony. 6 o'clock, woke up again. She wasn't there.
He said, I've been looking for Amy and I can't find her. We check every inch of the ship.
The captain came in.
He says, the FBI, they've searched. Your daughter's not on this boat.
So what happened to Amy Bradley? Well, her family has never given up hope, and this morning we're honored to have her brother Brad joining us. Brad, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning, and our hearts go out to you. Might I just start by saying I think everybody at our network and who's watched this documentary that I've spoken to just really feels for what you all have gone through. Let me start by asking you, what has really helped you hold on to hope that your sister's still alive?
Hi, good morning, Julie. Thank you for having me. I think all three of us have continued to hope, and it's largely, a gut feeling. I don't know how to explain it to people much better than that or make it make sense, but, we've always felt, each one of us individually, that Amy's still alive. And, the simple fact that we've never received any, concrete information or news that tells us that she's not, other than, the time frame being so long ago.
Mm-hmm. What was Amy like, Brad?
She was amazing. Been described many times as a life of the party. She was an athlete. She was a multi-sport athlete in high school, and she got a full basketball scholarship. She was funny, very vibrant, full of life, and, always a great sister and friend.
Would you say that the documentary portrayed her pretty well?
Yeah, I don't know how much they spent portraying her as a person. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of time spent on her sexuality, which was an incompletely told story. She actually was dating a guy at the time of the cruise, or the months leading up to it. So I think it shared some insight as to what type of person she was and the things that she was interested in. But it wasn't really the full story, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you about that, please, Brad. What exactly is the full story? Because we know we saw as the final episode was closing, a woman who said that she was a girlfriend of Amy's shared this message in a bottle, this beautiful love letter that some may perceive as perhaps a suicide note, the way it was written, the way it was asking for forgiveness about something that happened in their relationship. What can you tell us about that, please?
I think the letter was kind of a, forgive me letter for getting caught kissing another girl. Amy was very poetic. She liked to write. She wrote a lot of poetry. I think, there was no cryptic message in that, quote unquote message in a bottle. She knew she was going on a cruise. So, obviously there was a theme there, but, Amy was writing postcards to friends and buying gifts and talking to people about what she was going to be doing when she got home. So there's no room in our minds for any possibility regarding suicide. I think the note was, like you said, just kind of a love letter asking for forgiveness. And I think that, she probably had plans of getting back together with Molly after we returned from the cruise.
Mm-hmm. Brad, was there confusion for Amy with her sexuality at that time?
I don't know. We didn't speak about it a whole lot. Like I said, she dated men and women. So she was bisexual. She had a boyfriend for months leading up to the cruise. They were having a good time. She had written him a letter, telling him that she wanted to kind of take things slow, although she had had a great time with him and really enjoyed spending time with his family. I don't know. Amy didn't seem to be bothered much at all by it. We were all having a great time, and there was no struggling or, searching for self-identity. Amy was a very strong person, and I don't think that there was any struggle ongoing.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Brad, the documentary, as you know, said that your parents were unaccepting of Amy coming out as gay. Wanted to ask you, is that true?
Jesus Christ. Why are they focusing on her sexuality so much rather than the fact that she's missing? This is what I can't stand about these stations. It's nuts. Or these channels, I'm sorry. Sorry, you guys. This drives me insane when they do this kind of shit.
True?
No, Amy came out to myself and my parents in 1995, so about 3 years prior to the cruise. And I guess you could say there was some surprise. I guess my parents had to come to terms with the fact that she wouldn't be, a source of grandchildren for them, as you've learned. Neither have I. But all of that was well gotten past. Amy's girlfriends and boyfriends came to the house. Girlfriends spent the night. Girlfriends went on vacation with us. In fact, Molly was at my parents' house eating Easter dinner with us in 2024. So we were all accepting of Amy. We all loved her unconditionally, just as we always had. And, whether there was a disgruntled ex with an axe to grind on there saying whatever she wants to say, just because a person says something doesn't make it a fact. And I've learned over the past month, especially online, it doesn't matter how many times I refute that nonsense. People are going to think what they're going to think, so have at it. But, we had no issues within our family. There was no contention. There was none of that.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. That's why we wanted to ask you directly, Brad, because you're right. None of us are responsible for anyone else's faulty perception. Let's talk, if we can, please, about what may have happened to Amy. So there is a theory that was put out there in the documentary that many people are thinking about, that perhaps she was taken. What makes you, in your heart of hearts, believe that's what occurred?
Well, for a number of reasons. The first two are that we know she didn't jump, and, never having been willing to go anywhere near the rail at any point during that cruise, we know she didn't accidentally fall off. We also have 3 eyewitnesses that put her with Yellow that morning, 2 from outside the club that saw her go up the elevator with him, and 1 from inside the club that wasn't shared on the documentary. So we know that Amy was in that club with Yellow close to 6 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, we have obviously several credible eyewitness sightings of her in and around those islands, including Curacao, Aruba, and Barbados in the years that followed. And I know for a fact she didn't run away to start a new life. So, you know, the fact that she didn't fall, she didn't jump, she didn't run away, leaves only that one possibility that she was taken and removed from the ship for whatever reason.
Brad, let's take a look at that photo together. You know, the one I'm going to put up here on the screen so everybody can see it, the one sent to your family, alleged to be Amy, perhaps in a trafficking situation. The FBI used their facial recognition software programs to compare it to an older photo of her. They believe it's her. Can you look at this photo and
I'm going to tell you right now that I have no doubt that that's her. If you look at everything, her eyes, okay, she has what I call a slight lazy eye, and it's there in both pictures. Her ears are the same. Her mouth is the same. Her nose is the same. She just has more hair, folks. That is absolutely her as far as I'm concerned. Even the eyebrow, okay, it's 100% her. Chin, every bit of this looks like her. She looks like she may be a little thinner here, but that's wild to me. And seeing something like that, that's enough for me in that sense. You know what I mean? That to me, that is her. I've seen this photograph. I've analyzed this photograph in many ways before. When I covered the case in depth before, like that's absolutely her in my opinion. Obviously, there's some aging and, you know, different hairstyle, different time, but it's truly, in my opinion, like I said, she has the same lazy eye. If you look, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just crazy to me, you guys. Absolutely crazy. That says a lot and a whole lot, in my opinion. Sorry if there's an echo, you guys.
say with all honesty that you believe with 100% certainty it is your sister?
No, not 100%. I do believe that with all the characteristics that have been compared through analysis of those photos and many other photos of Amy, that it's a high probability, but 100% no. You know, that's certainly the one set of photos over all these years that really kind of takes your breath a little bit. So I can't tell you that I'm 100% certain. None of us can. But it's the closest thing that we've ever seen. And again, through the FBI's analysis of that photo, they agreed that there's a high probability that it is her or was her. Mm-hmm. You know, plus it's been 27 years that photo has been around the internet and on news segments. No person has ever come forward just simply saying, "Hey guys, that's not Amy, that's me." You know, I find it odd that no one would step forward after that photo's been shared so many thousands of times.
I don't think that they are, WB. I think that it's the makeup that she has. If you look, and I even asked my wife about this, and because I mentioned that to her about the eyes. The makeup that she's wearing, she has it up over on the eyelids and stuff. It changes the look of the shape of the eye, my wife said. You know what I mean? And like I said, if you look, you can see the lazy eye in this one and this one, in my opinion. But if you she's not wearing like a lot of different makeup in this one. This is different here, I think. I think I'm not, of course, it's not 100%, but I think the makeup changes the look of the shape of the eye, in my opinion, and the size of the eye, too. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, you can make it longer. Like, that's how my wife explained it to SRB. It's like eyeliner and the mask or the eyeshadow just changes the whole look of it. And I never realized that, but it very well could not be her. But there's so many, like, she has a very small nose that comes to like a ball on the end. That's almost identical to me. Her lips are very thin. Same thing. The teeth look the same. The shape of the mouth and this, like in both pictures, they look like it's the same mouth to me. The ears and earlobes, the nose, everything, you know, and it freaks me out. And the shape of the eyebrows, other than the fact that they're done differently here, that it's still the same to me, it seems. The forehead, the bridge of her nose, if you look at the gap on the bridge of the nose there, all of that stuff. I mean, it's so much resembling, it resembles it so much to me. It's crazy. A lot of people have different sizes at times in life. I did notice that in others and myself at one time. I mean, yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, that could be why it looks that way, is all I'm saying. But it could be completely different person. Everybody says that everybody has a doppelganger out there. Well, this would be hers, in my opinion, if there is one, and add to the fact that this is an aged photograph. She's obviously a little bit older here too, and that's pretty crazy. So it's wild. It really truly is wild. She looks like Fergie in the second picture. Yeah, she does. Like Princess Fergie, you mean? Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It's funny because my wife said the same thing a long time ago when we looked at this. So, if you covered up her right eye where there appears to be more makeup, it looks, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just saying, like, it's unreal how close they are. And I've seen other photographs where people tried to match them up with somebody. There's another case where there was a picture of a woman that was bound laying in a bed with a little boy. I think it was her younger brother or something like that. But it was almost identical, and they proved that it wasn't because of certain little characteristics that were different in another photograph that you could see. That's what I'm saying. So, like I said, she was young here, quite a bit younger here, very young, and then progressed in age. Things change. Not to mention the stress that this woman has undergone. If this is her, it's going to change facial characteristics to some extent as well, in my opinion. Stress, things like that. Hence the reason why there's more makeup needed to change, if she was trafficked and stuff like that she was forced to do, in my opinion. Just saying. It just so much looks like her. The cheekbones too, guys. Don't forget that. I mean, there's so many things about this photograph. And others, like I said, there's a couple, one or two things that make look the same. This, it's so much of it. It's crazy to me. Anyway, I'll shut up. But very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Plus it's been 27 years that photo has been around the internet and on news segments. No person has ever come forward just simply saying, "Hey guys, that's not Amy, that's me." I find it odd that no one would step forward after that photo's been shared so many thousands of times. So we're confident that through the analysis that we've had done that is likely her, or was likely her, but I can't tell you it's 100%.
I will appreciate your honesty, Brad. Back to the idea that you're sure she didn't jump. How about the fact that the little glass table was pushed up against the glass of the balcony? So perhaps she could have stepped on it.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened. Even if that table was there that night, which it wasn't, and I'll explain further in a minute. Amy's, again, not going near the rail any point during the cruise. She's not going to climb on a table. If she were to get sick, she's certainly tall enough to vomit over the railing. The next several days, when we met with the FBI, myself and both of my parents were separated for questioning, during which time they had us draw where, to the best of our recollection, the furniture on that balcony was. Each one of us individually drew the table where it was, back up against the sliding glass door between the chairs, not against the railing. As you saw the FBI agent on the documentary explain, that room was cleaned before the FBI was able to investigate. And my opinion is that table was moved to support a narrative that the cruise line would like everybody to believe.
Understood. Bradley, I wish we had more time to speak with you. Will you please come back and keep us apprised of any new leads that come? I know that you've had various people reaching out to you, tips. We know that Kim and Khloe Kardashian offered to assist your family. So anything that develops, please let us know. We'd love to have you back and talk some more.
I'd be happy to anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Take good care.
Okay, there goes that one. Let me see. One quick. Eddie, any thoughts on this? I have another one for you guys. And they're talking about the next thing we're going to look at is what the Netflix, for those of you that have seen it, episode has missed, what it's missed on this. And it's another interview with Brad, her brother, talking about new things and things that were missed in that as well. But before we do that, any thoughts, Eddie, or any feelings on this one at all? Do you remember this at all?
When I see her photograph, it, I'm sure I have seen this in the past because it just resonates with that image of her. I know I've seen it before, and I probably followed the case before. And what year again did she go missing on that cruise?
98.
98. So my question is, he seems pretty confident that she didn't fall off.
Yeah. They're pretty adamant about that based on the things that they know about the investigation that we don't. But yeah. And he's going to explain that a little bit more in this next episode that we look at as well. And yeah.
I'm interested to know how it goes, even in 98.
Sure.
You can't just disembark unorganized. Right. It's going to be logged somehow. If they didn't have video, I'm sure there's layers of measures these days. Well, they got you on video. You probably have to log out or somehow sign out that you're disembarking, whatever. But in 98, how come it's up in the air as to, did she fall off? Did she get trafficked off the boat? I mean, if she left off the boat, how did...
What they believe, Eddie, is that the cruise line, the company, whoever owns it, I can't remember. I think it was Carnival, I thought, maybe, has tried to cover this up. That they know for a fact she didn't go overboard, and that they believe that there was camera footage that was destroyed or disappeared per se. Okay. And when I covered it the last time I covered it, I went pretty deep into it with what we did, and that this yellow person, that they claimed that she's been seen with, like 3 or 4 different eyewitnesses saw this person with her. And it's the time span is very short. It's very weird. Her father woke up at 5:30, saw her sitting out on their balcony in the stateroom, sleeping. Okay. Laid his head back down, and by 6 a.m. woke up again, and she's gone. And then I guess it was an all-night club that they have on this ship, like, bar, dancing, all that kind of stuff. That she was seen by multiple people with this yellow person. I believe he was the one that was in the band, the bass player for the band or whatever that was playing that night there. They were seen together going up an elevator, and they were seen together in the club by more than one person, and they all gave the same account in eyewitness account in that aspect, which is very, very interesting to me. They were in a foreign area, and we all know that I guess, for lack of better terms, because I'm going to say this wrong, but like the different areas in the Bahamas and stuff are very dangerous for things like this. And very easily can be used. Those places can be used for something like this. We know that.
Looking for an easy mark. Whatever.
Yes, they do it all the time, and they have been planted on these cruise ships as employees. Okay, to do these things that they've done, and they hit their mark that way. And then there's more than 3 or 4 different people that are involved in this little scam. And then they all work together to get the person off the boat very quickly because they're employees of the cruise line. They're stating that it's very easy to do this, especially in these smaller countries like this, or smaller, I don't want to say country, but you know what I mean? Like where they were docking, this area they were docking in was a very like low income type, small area and things like that. And it's very easy to hide things, and the police there are kind of wishy-washy and things like that. So it's very easy to do these types of things in these areas, and it's happened Jamaica and the Bahamas and all these places around that are connected. They do this all the time. That's why they tell you not to leave your resort. If you're off of like a boat, you stay, or if you're visiting in a resort, you stay on a resort. I've talked to many cases I've seen like in the Bahamas areas and Jamaica and stuff like that, Martinique and stuff, where these things have happened or they've tried to happen. So again, I believe that, because if you think about it, and that was what the theory was that it would be horrible for business for Carnival if something like this happened. You know what I mean? So therefore, in turn, it's a small sacrifice to them to just say, well, I think she fell over the side of the boat, end of story, moving on. And they didn't, if I remember correctly, guys, when we covered this, they weren't real interested in going back and looking for her either. Okay. It was kind of interesting how they were kind of like, well, we think she fell over, off we go. They didn't even want to bother with like law enforcement and stuff. It was kind of wild. So it's pretty neat how interesting it kind of unfolds when you're looking at situations like this. I've been told.
Interesting. Yeah, you just talking those last 2 minutes gave us more insight than that court TV segment did.
Yeah, definitely. I was in this one pretty deep because it was really interesting to me. And that's true, Contessa. I've been told at certain destinations not to leave the resort I'm at. It's 100%. I have a friend that goes to Jamaica every single year. He takes his vacation from work. Him and his girlfriend, they have a great time. But he said that and he's been on a couple cruises too, and it's the same damn thing. They tell them to lock themselves in their staterooms when they're going to bed at nights because people will come in and out of their rooms. They tell them to lock their rooms when they're not in there because people go in and out and steal. But when the biggest thing is when they disembark from the boat to go troll around the island for the day or whatever, they say to stay together in groups. Do not leave the lit areas. Like if it's nighttime, stay out where people can see you. Stay with somebody. So that'll tell you in itself right there, folks. The type of areas that these are, because it's dangerous. People are drugged all the time. They tell people not to set their drinks down. They tell people to check their drinks all the time. And of course, not to drink certain things and stuff like that. But yeah, it's wild how, you're supposed to be there enjoying yourself, but you really can't because you're always watching your back. You know what I mean? Crazy. Welcome, Nothing Half-Assed. Good to see you.
So real quick,
Yes, sir.
you had touched on, although the official narrative is that they want to, suggest that, she must have went overboard.
Yeah.
But their actions don't reflect that. In other words, like they know that that's not the case, even though it is their official position. It's kind of like a half-hearted effort to go looking for her when they know that she's not in the water. Kind of like there's a parallel there, like with the Idaho 4.
Oh yeah, yeah.
AKA the fake investigation.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. 100. It matches right up.
Yeah.
Also, they tried to throw the whole, we have to keep on a schedule. We can't stop. We can't do this. You guys will have to get off here. But when people are on your boat, they're your responsibility. You know what I mean? And great to see you, Nothing. But they played that whole thing with them and they tried to, just kind of push it off like it was nothing. And she must have fallen over the edge. And we checked our videotapes. We don't see her anywhere, blah, blah, blah. It was crazy. So I'm glad to see that, there's, liability insurance for sure. That there's some, and it's been the same kind of narrative, Eddie, that she's been seen multiple times in these same type areas. Okay. And all the places she's been seen, they're not very far from the others. There's talk out there that she may have mothered a child or two, things like that. And it's all good in a sense, that the fact that she's still alive, but it makes you wonder, they must really have a hold on her if she has not been able to step away at all in any aspect to be able to try to contact somebody. But again, you can't trust going to law enforcement in some of these areas because they work with them. You know what I mean? They're all kind of in the bag together. That's the scary thing. And international, I was getting ready to say that. in international waters, there's nothing that they can do. That's the problem. There's the biggest issue right there, because you're not protected by the United States at that point anymore. So there's nothing. People get away with a lot. You know what I mean? A whole lot. That's funny, Meg. I love it. Your cat decided to lay on your head. I gotcha.
Kind of makes me wonder if it is true that she was, taken, so to speak, off the boat.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean that it's against her will. Maybe they have, created a line where, a victim can kind of be a willing participant under false pretenses, thinking something, a promise of money, riches, fame, whatever. I don't know. Could they have, sold her such a fantastic bill of goods that she kind of was part of the whole scheme? Of course, fell into a trap, possibly.
Just like going in the military, they promise you the best package on the planet until you get in the door and poof, you hate it. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, it could be. She was very tight with her family. They were very, very close family, very loving and caring, and they always protected each other from everything we've ever seen. There was never any familial issues, or they were just very close. Okay, so that is hard to take into effect with knowing that. But if somebody promises you, you're going to make $1 million, and you don't know the truth until you step into that situation. And you'll see your family all the time, and you can send them money and this and that, and it's just this and that and that. Absolutely, it could have been a willing situation. And that would look better walking off the boat. You know what I mean? Or it could have been something even way simpler than that. Like, hey, somebody makes friends with her, gets close to her, or even like, in an affectionate way, more say that, I guess the guy that she was seen with was a very attractive guy, blah, blah, blah. And smooth operator,
a charmer.
Yeah, there you go. And said, hey, let me show you the island, blah blah blah, everybody's still sleeping, let me take you to breakfast, something like that. You know what I mean? And off they go, and then she's taken. Things like that are very quickly and easily done. It's not hard to do that. So it very much could be. That's just my opinion. I've always thought that, because she's smart. Okay, she's very smart. They proved that. But you don't have to be dumb to fall into somebody's charm. You know what I'm saying? So very interesting for sure. And I'd be curious to see how it would happen, because like I said, it was literally half hour, 45 minutes that all this happened in. She spent the night having a great time with her brother and dancing and doing this and doing that. She had talked to this yellow guy many a times. He was flirting with her on purpose, which that's probably where you go. The boat had docked, SRB, I believe. I can't remember. Carouse, is it called? The island of Carouse, I think. And I believe the boat had docked, and that was when she had gone. And it just played out exactly the way it should have. She was at 5:30, seen sleeping on the balcony of the stateroom. Her parents were all there. They were all in the same room. And her father sat up, looked over, saw her sitting there sleeping at 5:30, I believe it was. And then went back to sleep, woke back up at 6, and she's gone. And nobody ever saw her again. And it was done quick, whatever it was. They said they saw her around 6 in that club. So she had gone back, I'm guessing, to the club for something she was interested in. We didn't really have cell phones back then, so nobody could have messaged or called her. So she just decided, she woke up, obviously, and went back, met back up with this same guy, because they said that they saw her go up an elevator with him and in the club with him, and then they disappeared. I'm pretty sure that they interviewed him and talked to him, but of course, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on, all that kind of shit. So, and if there were cameras, like I said, exactly, the cameras in these islands are a joke, and the cameras on the ship, I believe that they saw her with him, and they have hidden that and buried that so that it wouldn't come back on them, because I believe he was an employee of Carnival. I'm pretty sure it's Carnival. Don't quote me, but just go with that. And it's all going to come back on them in a bad, bad way. So they cover it up, make it look good, which it's not hard to believe that, folks. We see that all the time, And it makes you wonder. And I've heard of it being done on these cruises before, with accidental things that happen, that they cover it up and make it look good and go in their favor rather than the other liability insurance reasons and things like that. So, yeah, cameras on the dock should be, you know, something of importance, I would think, but who knows in these small areas. So it's a sad story either way, especially if she has lived for the past 20 some odd years in this situation. And at this point, she's probably bound to them. What is that disease called, Eddie? When you become like, you kind of fall for your captor, not fall for them, but you kind of feel like you owe them something. It's not really a disease. It's a disorder. Shit. Not Munchausen's. I keep wanting to say that, but that's not it. But there's a disorder that happens with people that have been abducted in a lot of senses, and they feel that like they owe their captor something in some source. I can't remember it now. I'll come up with it, but it's a real thing, folks. It happens to people all the time. Especially after a long period of time with that Stockholm. Thank you, Yvonne. Good Lord. You know, yeah, and SRB. So yeah, Stockholm syndrome is a true deal thing. Welcome, Notaki before coffee. I love your name. Thank you, all you guys. Appreciate you. So, and it does happen all the time. Considering the amount of years they've been together, she's been away now. If that's the case, she may not want to leave that person at this point, or those people. You know what I mean? And that's the hard and scary part to this. Which would take a lot of psychiatric, breakdown to get her to understand that, in a sense, if that's what the case is. So, all right, guys, this is again Brad, her brother, and this is Big Plate Cleveland. The channel's called. I found this the other day, and so I'm gonna throw their link in here. And I appreciate what they've done and with this interview with Brad. And again, he goes into some of the things that Netflix didn't hit on, and if you've seen the Netflix episode and stuff like that, and gives a few more updates and stuff like that. So,
everybody, welcome into The Big Factor. Today's guest is Brad Bradley, the brother of Amy Lynn Bradley, who tragically disappeared during a family cruise in 1998, a case that continues to capture attention worldwide. Over the years, Brad has become a passionate advocate for his sister, tirelessly seeking answers and keeping her story alive. Brad, first of all, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Brad, when you first heard that Netflix was producing a documentary on Amy's case, what were your initial thoughts, and how long ago did they initially approach you?
I mean, I'd have to look back. I think it was early part of 2024. We were talking to a guy by the name of Bo Carson, who lives out in LA, and he was helping us with some things. And one day he said he had these producers from Ample Entertainment that he'd like to introduce us to, who were interested in doing a documentary about Amy. And we, every time, for 27 years, anytime something comes up, we absolutely do it. We try not to leave any opportunity on the table. So, yeah, but I think the overall project took, I'm guessing, 18 months, a year and a half or so from the time it started until it came out a couple weeks ago.
So, Brad, I think sometimes when we hear stories like this in life, like sometimes people become a name and not just like a human being, or it's like the facts, or people on the internet just want to find out certain things. So I was wondering if before we got too deep into it, you could share like some good memories with Amy, or like some things from your childhood that you'd be comfortable sharing with us.
Yeah, man. I mean, Amy she and I, other than when I was little and was the annoying little brother, once I kind of grew up and she stopped yelling at mom and dad to get me out of her room, we became really good friends, and we grew up, in a really nice neighborhood. We played in the creek. We rode our bikes. We played basketball. We had a hoop in the driveway. She was always better than me until I got big enough to just kind of back her down to the rim. But we spent a lot of time together. Grew up swimming on the swim team. Lots of years and time spent at the pool. And we were always just really close. And when she in high school, I'd go hang out with her and her friends when they'd have parties, and I'd go visit her up at Longwood and hang out with them. And we'd shoot pool when she came back into town. And obviously, I was still living at home when she came, back to visit from Longwood. And we'd always go out and be hanging out together. But it was, we had an awesome childhood. I know a lot of people aren't lucky enough to say that, but I certainly can. So, it was all good, man. It was, she and I were more like best friends than brother and sister, there towards, in our early 20s. So, everything was great.
Thanks for sharing that.
Brad, a thing with these documentaries are they're really good to get exposure, and obviously this has brought a ton of new exposure to Amy's case, but they also do tend to paint a picture the way that they want it painted and the way that they want it produced. I wanted to ask about your grade of the accuracy of the Netflix documentary, and if there was anything that, to start off our interview with you today, you wanted to, right off the rip say that you wanted to explain or correct from the Netflix documentary?
Yeah, I don't think they, I got asked this last night actually in an interview, and first thing I always preface with is that, myself and my parents and our family and our friends are all, extremely grateful to Ari, Mark, and Phil Lott, the producers that put this together. They, brought Amy's name back to life around the world, and people are all talking about it, and it had been a number of years that this whole story had kind of gone stagnant. So I first want to say we were very pleased with it, and we think they did a great job, and again, we'll be forever grateful for the attention that it's brought. I guess the only thing other than them leaving out a lot of important, pertinent information and details about things, and it's to be fair, you can't fit 27 years worth of stuff in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So I think they did a good job telling the story to get people's attention, and they succeeded in that. Early on when I started the X page, and I was never big on social media other than just kind of swiping through and looking, but it bothered me that so much time was spent on, her sexual preferences or sexuality, and the whole story wasn't told. You may have seen other interviews I've done where I've talked about this, but, Amy had a boyfriend that she worked with, and they were dating for several months leading up to the cruise. They flew him out and interviewed him for like 5 hours, and he has nothing but wonderful things to say about Amy. He loved her. I'm not 100% sure she had the same strong feelings toward him, but he was completely excluded from the story, and people, they painted a picture that Amy was, just a lesbian and straight gay, and that really wasn't the case. And I think it made a lot of people think that it was something that we had just learned before the trip. And I mean, Amy came out to us. Actually, I was at school, so she came out to my parents in 1995, and then I think a couple weeks later, I still remember where we were here in Chesterfield, and when she told me, and I was like, oh, okay, great. So, I never had any problems. She dated guys, she dated girls. I liked her boyfriends, I liked her girlfriends. They all spent time at the house, spent a lot of time with the family, went on trips with us, spent the night. It was all, nobody cared. I mean, obviously the initial surprise that my parents, and I think it's fair to say not many parents would choose that for their children, but it was well gotten over. Nobody had there was no contention between she and I, between her and my parents. We were all very happy. We loved Amy just like we always did, very much. And unfortunately, the way that it was presented, I think, and especially there was one particularly kind of disgruntled ex that talks about my dad writing this 3-page letter. my dad has told me, you know, at best that thing was like 2 paragraphs on 1 page, and it was in response to, you know, some shit she said. He doesn't remember what spurred the letter, but she can't produce this alleged 3-page letter. So a lot of people have the wrong idea about our family. They make assumptions. You know, they look at my X page, and, you know, this whole thing, bringing up politics is just stupid when we're talking about this. But, you know, I support Trump, so I'm just a racist homophobe, I guess. And everybody just has a, you know, that everybody that feels and says the nasty things that they say online is just straight up wrong. You know, they don't know us, and they don't know Amy. Amy can't speak for herself, and hopefully one day, if we're lucky enough to find her, you know, she can set the record straight on that.
So, Brad, I wanted to ask you about people jumping to conclusions on the internet based off of things they saw or heard in the Netflix documentary. Where do you think Amy's head was at? Like, how excited she was for the cruise and approaching it, like, through the lens of having a boyfriend, like, despite what Molly said, I guess, about possibly meeting up when she got back?
Well, and I'd like to start that answer by saying that, you know, Amy had written her boyfriend, whose name I'm leaving out of this because I don't want the world, you know, coming and looking him up. But she wrote him a letter, I think a couple weeks before the cruise, kind of thanking him for everything, telling him how much fun she'd had with him and how wonderful she thought he was, how much time, you know, how much she enjoyed spending time with his family and having him around ours. But that, you know, she wanted to kind of step back and take things a little slow. So it was almost maybe kind of like a little breakup note. And I don't doubt that Amy probably had plans to get back together with Molly. Molly's great. You know, I have known Molly a lot of years. She was at my parents' house Easter before last for dinner. You know, we've always had a great relationship, and I like Molly a lot. So that having been said, you're gonna have to repeat your question because I kind of went on a tangent and forgot the point.
Yeah, no worries at all. So I was just kind of wondering where you thought Amy's head was entering the trip, like how excited she was to be with your family amidst all this.
And I mean, both of us, so I'm afraid of flying. I really don't fly unless I absolutely have to. So I had a little hesitation about going on the trip just because we had to fly down to Florida and San Juan. She had a hesitation about the trip because she didn't like the ocean, not, you know, as far as what was in it. So we both kind of got over our little fears, and we're both really excited. When Mom and Dad told us they had gotten permission for us to go, you know, we were pumped. We packed together. We talked about what we were going to do. We flew down together separately from my parents. We were having a great time, and you know, on the trip, we were going to the pool, we were going to the casino, we were going to the dance club, we were having drinks. We went on an excursion on Aruba. You know, she had just recently graduated college, had a great job at one of the top restaurants here in Richmond. She was actually getting ready to start a new job with my uncle's computer company when she got back. She'd just gotten a brand new apartment. She had just gotten an 8-week-old English Bulldog puppy that she'd wanted her whole life. She was buying gifts for friends. She was writing postcards to her friends back home, talking about what they were going to do when she got back. I mean, she was great. I mean, we were having a good time, and she wasn't struggling with her identity. There was none of that crap. So anybody that thinks that, I mean, you can't control what people think and the assumptions they make and or their opinions. But you know, Amy didn't care about any of that.
And then you had also mentioned just her fear of the water, right? And like, you know, just that's obviously a big part of going on a cruise. And is that what makes it so not plausible to you for the people that will say like, oh, well, she fell, or she could have like been sick and, you know, like, you know, jumped off the side, or like whatever it might be? Like, her fear of the water was something that you and your family were like plenty aware of even prior to going onto the ship.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, to be fair, I mean, or you know, clear, she wasn't afraid of the water. I mean, we grew up swimming. She swam like a fish. She coached a swim team. She was a lifeguard. She was proficient in the water. So being in the water wasn't a problem.
Right.
It's what's in the water that you can't see. So certainly one of the things that makes it ridiculous that she would, you know, jump off a balcony 8 stories up and terrify herself to death didn't happen. And then and plus there was no reason for her to do that. She was very happy, had a lot going on in her life. Everything was very exciting and new. She was kind of starting her big girl life, you know? And then as far as her falling over the rail, I mean, Amy was 5'6". The rails were, I don't know exactly how tall, 42, 48 inches tall. Her center of gravity is much lower than the rail. And she wouldn't even go near the thing. I mean, when we got on the boat the first night, I leaned over the rail and looked straight down at the water. And I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And she said, nope. She stood back by the sliding glass door, and at no point on that trip would she even go near the rail. So the crap about the table being pushed up against the balcony, that morning when we woke up, that table was against the sliding glass door next to the chair she was sitting in. The FBI had me, my dad, and my mom in separate rooms, each draw where the furniture was that morning. All 3 of those drawings, the table's against the window. Now, you heard the FBI agents say that the cruise staff cleaned the room. So I think they'd love everybody to think that she jumped or fell, because that eliminates any liability they have.
I see you saying he's way too insistent, but you know what? I think it's because he's been through 20 some odd years of this investigation, in and out of it, and he knows every bit of it. He's been involved since the beginning. So I think, like I explained, that the cruise line has had some bit of a cover up with this, in my opinion, based on things and facts that have been pointed out. So that's why I think he's so insistent on certain things that he knows that are facts for almost 30 years. You know what I mean? That's why I believe so. I see what you're saying, though, but that's why I think so, though. Truly musical.
And my opinion is that table was moved when the room was clean, because that's not where it was when we woke up.
Brad, first off, I just want to say thoughts and prayers to you and your family. Obviously, something that hard to imagine for anyone to be going through what you guys have gone through ever since that happened. I wanted to ask personally how you guys go about when people report things to you all about what they may have seen, or, you know, sightings or anything of that nature, how hard it can be at times to decipher what may be real and what's fake. Because sometimes people may, you know, just kind of want to be a part. Like when Netflix is dropping a documentary, they want to just, you know, say, oh, well, I saw this X amount of years ago, just to be a part of it. Well, it's like, why didn't you say anything then? And like how, because for you guys, that's something that, you know, when you get another lead, that's something that could exhilarate you, but sometimes it's hard to distinguish.
Yeah, we've been on that roller coaster of hopes up and hopes dashed 100 times. You know, it's and we're hopeful that you know, this ride doesn't end the same way. It's hard. I mean, back in the day, you know, I don't know if you guys know about Frank Jones, the guy that conned us out of, you know, $200,000, claiming posing to be like an ex-special forces kind of guy. We were actually in a hotel room down in Fort Lauderdale that we flew down to, and had a private jet on standby, because he was down in the islands with this team of operators, and they knew where Amy was. They were tracking the people that were in control of her. They went as far as to stencil tattoos on a woman and take pictures of her sitting on the beach with one of her alleged captors. And we ended up having a guy who's been with us ever since, that outed that guy, Frank Jones, for being a fraud. So that was a huge, I mean, we thought that was it. We thought we had her. He ended up spending 5 years in jail for electronic fraud, for, you know, sending the pictures and those kinds of things, and was ordered to pay mandatory restitution, of which we never saw a dollar. So those kinds of things, you know, you have people come out of the woodwork that, you know, and just like now, we got these things on TikTok about this lady, and we found that, I don't know if you guys have seen it, this is blonde lady from behind Curacao. We found the original photo, and spoke to, our investigator spoke to that woman's daughter. Someone photoshopped those tattoos on that picture. That original picture didn't have any tattoos. So that kind of stuff still happens. And yeah, it's hard to figure out what's what. I mean, we have a small team of people that are helping us, go through all these emails and all these pictures and all these opinions and theories, and it's a lot. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of pieces of information that are coming in that were, some are credible enough to have to, go after and rule it out as far as, how significant it may be or not. But yeah, it's really tough. And it does, you see certain things and your heart flutters and you're like, oh my God. And then it's like, yeah, oh well. So we're hoping and we're dependent really on somebody coming forward. I mean, there's one person that knows something. I think there's probably quite a few people that know something. And all this seemingly hinges on somebody growing half a conscience and coming forward and deciding it's time to, provide the information that they've been holding on to. So yeah, I hope that answered your questions. If there's any part of it that I didn't, just shoot again.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Brad. We were as a group very fascinated by the Church of Scientology element, as well as the room check, which we talked about a little bit. But could you possibly explain maybe more about what you believe could have went on between them and your family?
What I'll say first before I explain that interaction, you have to understand when this Netflix series came out, it was the first time in about 25 years that everybody's paying attention. And I've been talking about this Scientology theory. I don't know if it's a theory or just something that's bothered the hell out of me for the last 25 years, because every single media outlet or news organization or interview that I've done, I've talked about it, and nobody ever will include it in the story. They don't bring it up. They exclude that part of the interview every single time. And so I took it upon myself to, make it known, because it's always been something that's bothered me. I always felt that the FBI was, dismissive of the theory, and they'd say like, yeah, well, we looked and there's nothing there. And it wasn't satisfying to me. So, this all goes back to two ladies that Amy was talking to the night of the pool party before, it transitioned into the next day, early morning. And she spent about an hour talking to these two ladies, which, by the way, the FBI has told us before that they know who these people are, these ladies are. They have never told us who they are. They won't. So if they would simply have said, these ladies were customs officials from Aruba or police officers, which I've heard in recent interviews by some ex-Cruise staff, that is who they suggest that those ladies were, and those uniforms kind of matched either Aruban or Curacao police or customs officials that were on that boat for some reason. So, you got a bunch of people get on the boat. It's like this entourage that comes on with the performers and the dancers and the jugglers and all the, people that were performing at the party. And it was this large group of people that weren't passengers or employees of the boat that just got on in a large group. And I think those ladies got on the boat that night from Aruba before we left. So forget what I just explained that I've heard recently. You got to understand, I'm living 25 years thinking about these two ladies. And so fast forward. Okay, so we get off the boat on on Curacao, the evening after the same day Amy disappeared, probably about 5 p.m. I don't know exactly. And the president of my dad's company and his wife got off with us to help us. We weren't in any shape to figure out what to do or handle anything, really. I mean, we were a complete mess. So they got us a hotel room. I think it was called the Otra Banda, along the canal there. And the unfortunate part about that is that hotel was where we had to watch our boat leave on time, on schedule, that evening when they left Curacao. So we're in the room that night. We're contacting family back in Virginia. you know, my ex-girlfriend, the one that was shown in the series, she was watching the animals in the house while we were gone. Everybody kind of convened at our house, aunts and uncles and cousins and, you know, grandparents, everybody was there by the time people started finding out what had happened. So we spent some time talking to family. My mom was talking to one of her brothers about helping get the FBI involved, because had it not been for my family's efforts at home, FBI never would have been there. After all that passed, you know, again, the scene was horrible. My dad was so upset, he's throwing up and he's, you know, vomiting blood at some point. My mom's curled up in a fetal position, just losing it on the bed. I'm sitting there in the chair. At one point I had to get out and get some fresh air. And I walk out and sit on the rocks and look at the ocean and kind of ponder life and try and, you know, I'm racking my brain about what may have happened or what could have happened. The evening goes by and my mom eventually requests that Mike McCord, who's since passed, the president of my dad's insurance company, find us a priest to come to the room to pray with us. So apparently, I don't know whether it was the embassy or the U.S. consulate contacted some local churches and they weren't able to find a priest. So around midnight, someone knocks on the door. We don't know anybody's coming. And these two guys are standing there in like maritime, kind of like captain's outfits, like naval kind of uniforms. And they introduced themselves as Steve Alpers and a guy named Ludwig. I don't remember his last name. My mom knows all this stuff, but they introduced themselves as officers from the Scientology ship called the Freewinds. You know, only thing I'd heard about Scientology is that, you know, they do a lot of weird stuff, and I'm not into it. So we say, okay, you know, come in, because we assumed they were there to try and help us in some way. So they come in and they explain that they have methods and ways to help people deal with grief and loss, and they wanted to do some verbal exercises and these kind of I don't even know what to call them. So, you know, we're sitting there and they'd say, okay, now that you've lost Amy, tell us something you haven't lost. And so we would each take turns individually. You know, now that we've lost Amy, we haven't lost each other. Now that we've lost Amy, we haven't lost our family and our friends back home. And this went on, you know, we took turns, you know, 3 or 4 times and went through that exercise. And then they went into asking really specific questions about, you know, did Amy smoke, and what were Amy's favorite cigarettes? Did Amy drink alcohol, and what did she drink? What was her favorite beer? Even down to like, what were her favorite snacks? What's her favorite soda? And again, at the time it was like, okay, we're remembering her, you know, very fondly, and it was very emotional. And, you know, but later it kind of struck me that they were garnering a lot of really specific information about her, which bothered me to no end for years and years and years, because I couldn't ever get anybody to pay attention to what a weird experience that was. They ultimately kind of had us lay down on the bed, face down, and they kind of laid hands on your back and would rub their hands up your back. And when that started, my dad kind of spoke up and was like, all right, you know, guys, we appreciate you coming, but you know, please leave. They actually invited us to come on to the Freewinds, and we were like, nah, you know, we're good. So we didn't do that. So when I got home from that trip, you know, we were doing everything we could to try and figure out what the hell happened. So I get online and I'm doing a lot of research into Scientology, and I'm looking at the Freewinds and find out it's headquartered in Curacao, which obviously we didn't know or have any clue about. That boat travels to Aruba, where she was allegedly seen. That boat is headquartered in Curacao, where she was allegedly seen by eyewitness, and that boat goes to Barbados, and back and forth repeatedly. That's the track that boat is on. I found uniforms, which since I've been told isn't the case, but back then I found uniforms that were pretty much the same exact uniforms that those two ladies Amy was talking to were wearing.
Thank you so much, Meg. You're awesome. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. I appreciate you more than you know. God bless.
Since I posted that on X, everybody tagged all these people and these ex-Scientologists. We were never able to elicit any response from Leah Remini over the years after repeated attempts and to communicate with her. She just never responded. I was able to talk to Aaron Levin Smith from a podcast called Growing Up in Scientology. I was able to get in touch with a guy named Tony Ortega, who I think I understand he's not an ex-Scientologist. He's just like an anti-Scientologist. I got in touch with Valeska Paris, who was actually on the boat at that time and ended up having to escape from the Free Winds. I spoke with Claire Headley, who was above Mike Render in that Sea organization. And each one of those people individually, although they admitted it was extremely weird, the experience we went through, and the Scientology spokespeople recently, after a Daily Mail article, contacted the reporter and said that the U.S. consulate, after failing to find a priest, understanding that they, helped people with grief and loss and whatever, contacted them to come help us. And maybe that's all that was. I don't know. But that's why I brought it up, because no one's ever talked about it. No one's ever reported on it, even though I've been talking about it since day one. And I don't know whether those people have put my concerns completely to rest. I feel a little bit better about it, I will say, but I don't know who to believe. I don't know if these people are honest. I don't know how Scientology works. I think it does distract from the prime suspect in the case. And, if she's kidnapped onto a Scientology ship, she's not in a brothel and she's not walking around on Barbados. And the three eyewitnesses that we have that saw her that morning with Yellow, 2 from outside the club, 1 from inside the club. I think that's pretty much as clear as it gets. So I almost hated in the end, that I distracted everybody with that outlier kind of story, but that's what it was.
No, I mean, we definitely wanted to ask about Yellow as well, just because, of all the bizarre, it almost felt like, as I'm watching this documentary, right, and it's a real life thing that your family had to endure, but it's like all of these bizarre characters that you guys endured, from the guy that was in the room next to you, to Yellow, and then that, you had mentioned the Scientology stuff, like, there was just a lot of weirdness that follows this, but of all of the weirdness, to me, it seemed like Yellow was definitely the one that was the most strange, especially because Netflix finds a way to bring in his daughter, who is echoing your guys' concerns about her own father, and what a crazy moment that was in the entire series. Just how much do you weigh in those 2 sightings that the girls had of Amy with Yellow that morning?
I mean, those were the most crucial of any. Those girls, that story I explained with Scientology, we after the ship's captain lied to us and told us that they had done a complete search of the ship and assured us Amy is not on the boat. You need to get off on Curacao so we can leave on time. And, the infamous cruise director, cruises go on, life goes on. So they got to go. So you guys get off in case they find her in the water. So we agreed. We trusted that what they were telling us was true about the search that they performed, which we later found out wasn't. We said, well, if she's in the water, someone put her there, because she didn't go near the rail to fall off. She didn't climb on the rail. She's not on the table. She's not jumping off the boat. And if she were to be found, we wanted to be there. So we get off. The next day, at some point, we were contacted by, I don't know whether it was the harbor police or whoever was conducting all the search in the canal and all the, around the perimeter of where that ship was. And they assured us that Amy was not in the water. Nothing was found, and they believe very strongly that if she were to have gone into the water, they would have found something. So we say, okay, we're getting back on the boat. And so we got on a commercial flight from Curacao to St. Martin. I believe we beat the ship there, I think, because I think we stayed in a hotel, and then the next morning we got on a ferry.
Yeah, now this is interesting too, how they went back to, they were left in Curacao. Like I told you guys, the captain and the whole crew were like, you have to get off. End of story, go. We have to keep going. They didn't care. They had to stay on their schedule. It is what it is. They were stuck on the island, so on and so forth, but they caught a plane to catch up with the boat to get back on it. And if he's going to explain it, I hope he does, how they treated them when they came back to the boat. Listen to this.
Or a tender or something, and went out to where the boat was anchored on St. Martin to get back on. That time frame is kind of a blur. I've talked to my parents about it recently because that was on Wednesday or Thursday when we got back on the boat. So it was about 48 hours had passed. And that morning at about 3:45, I think it was actually 3:47, my mom's found the old documentation from when this happened back then. We're in the hallway, my mom and I, and we're attempting to retrace Amy's potential steps that morning. So, we come out of the room and we take a right, and we go out into where you would go to get towards the elevator. And as soon as we got into that open area, Crystal and Lori came literally running up to us frantically. I mean, if you could have seen the look on their faces, they were breathless. They looked like they had seen a ghost. They said, oh my God, we've been looking for you. They didn't know we got off. And they were 100% adamant. I mean, they had met Amy and me. They had met Yellow. Yellow had flirted with them. This isn't like an eyewitness sighting 5 years later where someone says, I didn't know that this was the girl, and then I saw the story. So these girls they were in the club that night. They were out, after I left the disco, they're out there walking. I remember seeing them out on the pool deck. They know who they saw because we were all together that whole night. And the FBI agent you'll see on the show, says, unfortunately, we weren't ever able to corroborate their time frame. Well, the reason for that is because the FBI still to this day has never questioned or interviewed Crystal's mother, who we've spoken to, and we have a signed affidavit from her stating that she let those girls into the room, opening the door from the inside shortly after 6 a.m., which is why there's no key card information for when they returned. So those are the most crucial eyewitnesses. FBI dropped the ball right from the jump. They didn't take them seriously. I've spoken to the girls over the past few weeks, and they feel like they were treated like two little drunk teenagers. And the due diligence that should have been done wasn't. Not only, and a lot of people don't know because it wasn't in the documentary about the third eyewitness, a 28-year-old girl that was in the Viking Lounge that morning. She spent the majority of her time there and was preparing for an excursion that morning. So she was up there very early and saw Amy and Yellow come off the elevator from inside. So they went up to that upper area of the disco where they were sitting at the table when I left to go outside before I went back to the room. They went up to that same area. She says Yellow comes down, fixes a dark drink and hands it to Amy. And then they walk back into a back area where she couldn't see them any longer. She then says, and she testified to all this in the grand jury in Richmond years and years ago. We're currently trying to find this girl so we can talk to her and get a statement. She says that there was a young girl who she suspected to be about 18 or 19 years old that came out from behind the bar yelling, "Senorita kidnap, Senorita kidnap." And the bartender kind of pushed her back into the bar area. Now, this is what she testified to. So, I believe because the two eyewitnesses from outside, Crystal and Lori, saw Yellow come back down 10, 15 minutes later by himself, I think however he got her to meet him that morning, I don't know. I can't make sense of why she would have done that, why she wouldn't have told me she was doing something like that. But I think he was kind of a scout, kind of the first guy who takes her to this stage, hands her off to whoever takes her down on the bottom of the ship. And that's what I believe happened there. I do have a really strong theory about how they got her off the ship, which my investigator, doesn't want me speaking on right now. He doesn't want, me to compromise what he's working on.
Yeah, understandable.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't via gangway. It wasn't her walking off the ship of her own volition. So,
And I'm gonna tell you real quick what my theory is. I think that drink that Yellow fixed for her was obviously drugged, and she went out. That's why he came downstairs without her. That there was other people involved, and they put her into the storage where they had the bottom of the ship. They probably took her down because they have dumbwaiters and they have elevators and all that stuff. And that, hence the bartender knowing this was, in my opinion, you guys, I'm going to tell you real quick. The bartender has seen this happen before. Okay. Truly, obviously, this is the whole scam that they run, and they know the people involved in it and who does what to where. Okay. So I think they took her down into the bottom of the ship, and they put her into a packing crate or something in that sense, knowing she was drugged and tied up or whatever, possibly. And they took her off the boat in that sense. They probably unloaded some stuff in one of the ports they were in, and that was all it took. Probably Caraco, in my opinion. But and then once they get her off, they're unloading cargo. Nobody sees that. You know what I mean? Nobody pays attention to that. Nobody cares about that at that point. And there they go. Very simple. That's exactly what I think happened there. That's just my opinion. Yeah, a crate or some kind of luggage or something that I know that a lot of these cruise ships carry things from port to port for different companies. They'll take with them. Not import export stuff, but just like transporting different things for different things. And a lot of times they'll take off like catering in different ports that they go through on and off the boat and stuff like that. And like garbage and laundry and all sorts of other things they do sometimes. They'll transport back and forth from these things. I looked into that when I covered the case before, and I was just curious. And that's what I think happened, is they took her out on some way, in some form or fashion, that way, from the bottom unloading area of the ship. Just saying. So just so you guys know, that's my theory.
So you've got two eyewitnesses from outside the club watching them go up a glass elevator. You've got one eyewitness inside the thing. Again, she testified in the grand jury to what she saw. I don't really even know if the FBI interviewed her or did a polygraph. I don't know. FBI didn't tell you anything. So it's hard to know what was looked into, what wasn't. We don't even think that Yellow's roommate was questioned by the FBI. We don't think that Yellow's bandmates were questioned by the FBI. So, you've got a ship's security staff that is hired by a corporation and trained by a corporation, potentially looking out for the corporation, limiting liabilities, and however you want to put it. One other interesting piece, when my dad woke up that morning, you know the story, woke up around 5:30, saw her on the balcony, saw her legs anyway. Woke up at 6 again, door was open, shirt she fell asleep on is on the chair, she's gone. He immediately gets up and goes out, this is about 6 a.m., and goes out looking, I think fully expecting to find her, up on the deck, doing whatever. And he didn't, obviously. So about 45 minutes pass, maybe even close to an hour. Again, all the time frames, and people are busting my ass about mixing up little bits of time here and there. I mean, 27 years worth of memories. It's kind of hard when you're not keeping track at the time exactly what times these things happen. But Dad said he came back to the room about 7, maybe just before. The chief of security just so happened on a boat the size of a city with thousands of people and hundreds of rooms. He's standing in our hallway because my dad hadn't said anything to anybody yet. hadn't made the purser's desk aware. But when he saw the security officer standing there with his walkie-talkie about 20, 30 feet from our door, he walked over to him and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, I woke up this morning. My daughter's not in the room. I'm looking for her. I can't find her." He didn't say Yellow's name because we hadn't had the eyewitness account from Lori and Crystal yet until a couple of days later. In Yellow's most recent interview, and honestly, the only interview I've ever seen him do in 27 years, he says that security called him at 7 a.m. asking him if he had the girl in his room that he was dancing with the night before. So first thing is, we didn't ever say Yellow's name. Second thing is, how does security know who he's dancing with the night before? And third thing is, the chief security officer's official report never makes any mention of his interaction with my dad in the hallway that morning. And he states that he first learned about a missing passenger at 7:33 a.m. when he was contacted by the purser's desk to let him know. So you've potentially got a chief security officer falsifying reports or excluding important documentation from his report in a potential criminal investigation. You've got Yellow saying that they called him at 7 o'clock asking if he's got a girl in his room. He also says they told him to stay in his room. Now, sometime between 7:30 and 8, I'm on the pool deck, sitting by the pool. You've heard the story about when he comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm sorry to hear about your sister." He's supposed to be in his room, per him. He says he's in his room at 1 a.m. The key card data shows he entered his room at 3:35 a.m. That morning, he told me he left her at 3:30. So now he's lying. Clear as day, provable. And you don't lie when you're telling the truth. You don't have to. I've said it many times. Unfortunately, liars have to remember all the lies they've told. And apparently, he didn't when he gave that interview.
Yeah, Brad, I'm to kind of build off of that and to maybe put a bow on all of this a little bit, because some of us have been thinking we've seen some of the stuff you've said through and what was in the documentary, from, like you said, Yellow coming up to you and saying what he said before he would have even known, to all the sightings of, the naval guy and the lady in the bathroom who said they see a woman that looks just like her, followed by these armed guards or whoever's handling them. But that brings us to the last thing, where the FBI even confirmed that they believe that this lady that they found this photo of, or that was sent to you guys online, this Jazz, they confirmed that through their as far as they could figure out that is Amy. How does that build up, and what do you guys even, how do you react to that? What do you try to do? And then just have like anything from there.
You mean when we got the pictures at first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, holy shit. It was, because you got to remember, we're sent hundreds of pictures just like we are now, of people like asking if this is Amy, and it's not even close. And it's like, no. And then you get this picture and it's like, wow, whoa. And you start to do all these comparisons and analysis of a lot of different pictures of Amy. I will say there's a number of those pictures that people, that weren't on the documentary. I think there's like 10 photos of Jazz. And several of them are really, really strikingly close. And again, like you said, the FBI's analysis of the photos by their experts confirmed with high probability that it was her. And
that's a huge point too, you guys. The FBI has experts, we know this already, that do nothing but that. They analyze facial. They have software that facial recognition and all this kind of stuff, and they know it's her. Without a sense, they know it's her. The point is, and I feel like we know the FBI guys, we know how lazy they are, we know they take shortcuts, we know that they don't do what they're supposed to do in all aspects, okay? And I feel like they've dropped the ball on this. And I'm comfortable saying I believe that they probably have an idea where she may be if she's alive, but they're not doing anything with it. And it's interesting, very interesting is all I'm going to say. International things is the hard part with this, okay? Anything in international waters is very hard for anything within the United States to take control of because of that. So, but being the FBI, being who they are, they have resources and options that they can reach out to do certain things, and they just don't do it more often than they do. I'll put it that way. So
you go 25 or whatever it is, 20 years after we got the photos, no one's ever come forward. As many shows as that picture's been on, and as many, people know about it and are talking about it. Where's this woman saying, that's not Amy, that's me? No one's ever come forward to, refute that could be Amy, and letting the world know that, it's a different person. There's some funny things about the pictures. There are certain positions or ways that she's positioned where the tattoos that she has can't be seen or wouldn't be seen. And then there are other pictures in that set of pictures where you should be able to see the tattoos, at least if the pictures aren't flipped or reversed or something. You think you're looking at her right ankle and it's really her left ankle or something different like that. We've been able to determine through some AI and some computer tricks that there seems to be digital noise, is how it's been explained to me, overlying the areas where her tattoos are. The girl does have a mole on her stomach, which I've looked back at pictures of Amy and I when we were in high school, and she doesn't have a mole there. But I have moles now I didn't used to have, so I don't.
And I was going to say, as people age, 27 years, I have moles I didn't have in places, and I have things that have changed all over me. Aging changes your body, period. So that's a good point.
Know that necessarily proves anything. I don't know how good Photoshop was back then or what. We don't obviously know for a fact that that's her. But the eyes, she has one eye that's straight and one eye that's a little bit off. That's the same. Her teeth are the same. Her lips are the same. Her nose is the same. The ears are the same length and same shape and same angle. The jaw, the chin, the hairline. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So I don't know. And I can't claim to know that that's her for a fact. People have doppelgangers, and there's people that look like other people. So truthfully, I can't tell you with any certainty that it is. But it's definitely the closest picture I've ever seen. So, the eyewitness sightings, I find to be all credible. The one with Hefner in the brothel that he didn't report until 2 years later, and when we were able to go back down there and search, well, we sent people to search that brothel, that place was burned down. So that lead ended right there. The only part of his story that I don't buy, and I know a lot of people are talking about the possibility of her looking for drugs or going to find drugs. I don't think so. Amy wasn't a drug user. No history in her life of anything like that. I mean, she smoked cigarettes and drank beer.
Now, this is one thing I'm going to have to step sideways on and disagree with Mr. Bradley on, as much as I support him and everything they've done in this case. If Amy was trafficked, okay, a lot of times, guys, and it's very sad, but that's how they keep them involved in the situation and keep them quiet and keep them part of the situation is by keeping them on drugs, guys. They do it all the time. And so I think it's possible. Or she could have been looking for him for somebody else, just saying.
But we didn't do drugs. We didn't talk about doing drugs. We didn't talk about finding drugs. There was none of that. So that whole angle of her trying to find drugs, I don't find to be, a possibility. I think that whatever reason Amy went to meet, or maybe she didn't go to meet, maybe she went out for some other reason and ran into Yellow. And she says, hey, my lighter stopped working. Do you know where some matches are? He's like, hey, come up to the bar. Or, who knows what happened? Your mind goes in circles a million times, a lot of different possibilities. For whatever reason, I believe she was up in that dance club with him. The one thing I didn't mention is the one witness that testified in the grand jury, the one that was inside. Also, part of the story is that after Yellow handed her a drink, somebody turned the music up really loud. And that's, when the girl came out yelling what she did. Another interesting thing about Yellow's interaction with me when I was sitting by the pool at the table that morning is when he asked me when the last time he's like, I left her at 3:30. When was the last time you saw her? What happened? So I start going into, well, I left the club at 3 and I went back. He's like, hold on a second. I want my brother to hear this. And he walks over to another table, probably about 50 feet away. There's 3 or 4 or 5 guys sitting there. I don't really remember. He brings one of them back and says, okay, all right, go ahead. And so I proceeded to give them probably a pretty good timeline to go by if they were ever to be questioned straight out of my mouth. And I found it weird, not only that, what did he know and how did he know what to be sorry for so early? Why would he interrupt me and go get one guy, whether that was his roommate or whether that was somebody else involved, to get their story straight off mine? All those things, and there's so many little pieces that, again, I don't think it's fair to blame the Netflix producers for not including it all. It's impossible to include it all unless you got 10 seasons worth of shows to go on. So yeah.
Brad, we can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing.
So that's pretty much it, you guys, in a nutshell, with all the updates and everything. There is let me find you to show you here real quick. 1 minute. Any thoughts at this point now, Eddie?
That was a good interview.
Yeah.
As compared to the Court TV
Yeah.
one with Julie Grant.
I know it's a lot better. I like these guys. They had great questions, and they didn't focus in on her sexuality like everybody else did. I think it's so ridiculous. It really pisses me off to no end too, because I think it takes up time. Talking about the most important part of the fact that she's missing, period. That they focus in on that, but it's for their views, I guess. It's ridiculous. But anyway, they gave a little more insight. The Scientology thing is kind of interesting to think about. And like you said, you remembered at that point, and I forgot to bring that up to you guys, and I'm sorry about that they got scammed, sadly, for over $200,000 by a guy that claimed to be a PI that was nothing at all.
It was at that point, Diego, I threw in the chat, I remember that detail. You must have, I must have learned it, heard it the first time, rather, on when you covered it, whenever you did. Because I remember that. It took me right back to that live stream of yours.
Yeah, and it's sad because to take advantage of people and do something like that, they went as far as to stencil, because Amy had a couple very noticeable tattoos that were just very unique to her. And they went as far as to stencil the same tattoos on this woman's body, take photographs of her sitting on a beach next to who they claim to be her captors, and said, we'll get her, we'll get her, but we need this much more money. Thank God they got caught, and they spent, the group spent, I think there was 2 of them, spent like 5 years, like he said, in prison for fraud, but it's just disgusting that somebody would go that far just to make some money off of you. It's sad. Because at that point, I remember seeing in an interview that both the mother and father, and Brad does all the interviews now because the parents are older and they've been through hell and back, and they're worn out, stressed out, and they don't really do too much talking now. But I mean, it broke their hearts, and that broke the parents. I think that's when they stopped doing public combos and things like that. The father really got hit hard on this one. Very, very disheartening, very broken. Like I said, folks, the family's very tight. They were very close. It's just sad. It's very sad. The whole thing is sad, and it bothers me. I personally feel like Yellow is a very important figure in this. And I'm telling you, I think it's a trafficking scam that has been going on within this cruise ship, possibly over a period of time. At that time, it was for years, probably. And they know about it. They know that if it comes out, think about that. If it comes out that it's been something that is a regular thing on these cruise ships, that's going to tear their business down. Nobody's going to want to go on these cruises anymore because out of fear for that, so they have to keep it buried. They can't let people know that could be a possibility. You know what I mean?
You know, here's an interesting thought too. It's kind of a parallel. How big a conspiracy has to be to work? You know, some people, like in the Idaho 4, may have at some point said, well, I can't see that it's a frame job because, you know, look, all the, you know, the agencies that would have to be involved. But when you think about it, that's the only way it can work. Same with this. It's not just a single person that can pull such a thing off. It's going to take a concerted effort by many.
Mm-hmm.
And people would argue, well, how could that be? You know, if so many people are involved, it just doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, that's the only way it does make sense.
Yes, agreed. 100%.
And think another parallel. Think about this: is you know, when there is a conspiracy, how unlikely, you know, to overcome, you know, if it is a conspiracy like this, it's going to be nearly impossible to overcome that.
Sure.
It's almost like a predetermined,
beyond impossible. Agreed. Yeah.
Outcome.
Yes.
It's just, you're not going to, your effort is not going to undo it.
Agreed. Very much so.
Or defeat it.
And and that's exactly where I think this is at this point. So this is a link, or I'm sorry, AmyBradleyIsMissing.com. If you type that into Google, it'll take you to this, and you can send emails to this email here if you have any tips on this, or call the number. But you can go into this personally and read through all this stuff here, guys. This is like the I always say it wrong, Caraco cruise ship docking timeline, the GoFundMe fundraiser, and all of this stuff down here. Reported tip, the Alistair Douglas, which is who Yellow is. It tells all about that, this, that, and everything else. A lot of different details are in this. If you want to read into this, look into this, please do. It's very interesting. It's very much interesting. About everything about the investigation is enrolled in this. Well, almost everything. If you want any specific details about specific things, you can go through this entire thing, folks. All you got to do is click on the AmyBradleyIsMissing.com or AmyBradleyIsStillMissing.com. If you look it up, it'll pop up in both ways. And it's a really good resource to look through to find out answers to things that you may have not gotten out of what I gave you, or whatever any of these shows we looked at gave you today. Or if you want to donate anything towards, you know, the GoFundMe that was started. I believe the GoFundMe was started to help with the investigation, because these people had to foot the bill on everything they've done. Their investigators, their PIs, everything, every bit of it is all out of their own pockets. Nobody helped them other than stuff like this. So I'd love to see Amy come home alive and well. I do know that I got nervous when they started the investigation up pretty hardcore again over the past couple of years, where they started getting tips. I got nervous, truly got nervous, worried that, you know, we know in certain cases when people start getting close in a situation that something bad may have happened to her. Now, the name, just for everybody to understand, the picture, the secondary picture we saw that I said it looks just like her with the longer hair, that person's name is, they go by the name Jazz. Okay. And I'm telling you guys, in my heart of hearts, I truly feel that I feel like that's her. And I think the FBI knows that as well. I think they need to get on the ball and do something about this and give these parents some closure before it's too late and they're gone. And Brad himself has probably aged 20 years past his age, truly, just on the stress that this has given. You know what I mean? So there you go, guys. If you're interested in that, please go check that out again. Amy Bradley's Missing or StillMissing.com. The email is AmyBradleyIsMissing@gmail.com. Or there's a number that's listed in here you can call as well if you have any thoughts, tips, opinions, anything. Please don't feel free, because even the littlest thing, you never know.
Dang, I almost hate even saying this because I don't want anyone to lose hope, but it's almost like too far. It's too deep and it's too far gone.
Oh,
imagine if there was resolve, they did find her. See, the problem with that is it would lead to so many questions. So many of these unanswered questions would need answers. And when you start asking those questions, what it leads to, I mean, if if it is a conspiracy and if it's about money and trafficking, and I mean, how many millions or even billions of dollars a year is the cruise industry, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think of the financial, economic implications if any of that is true.
If it comes out, what's going to happen? Yeah, and a lot of people are at the point where they can't let that happen. So yeah, very good point. Very good point. Let me see here. Yeah, agreed. Another one of those, the truth can never come out on this, no matter what. And that's a scary thought. You know what I mean? All right, guys. So I'm going to give you this next, and then we're going to be out of here. Just a little update here on our buddy Sebastian Rogers. I've been getting that case deep for a long time, and I haven't touched on it in a while. I walked away from this case, guys, at some point, probably about 6-8 months ago, maybe about 8 months ago, because of the drama that surrounded it, and it's been nothing but drama since like the first month. Okay, it's not been about this young man for probably after a month into this. It became about the parents, the creators that threw themselves into this and created drama. It's heartbreaking because this guy deserves every bit of everything that he can get to be found in this case. And it's not happening because of that. I'll tell you out front, for those of you that are newer to my community, I have issues with both sides of his family. I always have. I don't like how it was handled in any sense. I have specific thoughts that I'm not going to voice right now because I don't want to give anybody any reason to go in those directions. But the most important thing here is 16, almost 17-year-old now, Sebastian Rogers, who's been missing for a year and a half now with nothing, and I mean nothing, as far as information or evidence as to what the hell happened to this poor kid. And again, like I said before, I got deeply involved in this because he's 15 when he went missing. He was autistic. And I have an autistic child that means the world to me. And I understand the things that Sebastian went through and that his parents are dealt with him. And the thought of losing a child, especially in this aspect, really bothers me. So that's why I got so involved immediately. You can ask the people that have been here with me for a long time. I was head over heels immediately involved in this. So just a quick update here, just a news break. There was talk. It's not in this, but I'm going to give it to you because I don't want to play somebody else's stuff. But this is the news. Nick Barris gives a little update here. It's nothing really. That the FBI is offering a $50,000 reward. But they found that at some point that there was a call made from Sebastian's phone to a burner phone. And the reason why this is interesting is because the burner phone, they found that the phone was in a specific place. And I'm going to show you this here in a second after I run this real quick.
Teenager disappear without a trace. It is a question that has baffled the most seasoned of investigators for a year and a half. That's how long it's been since Sebastian Rogers vanished from his Hendersonville home. Nick Barris tells us in that time, the FBI has been able to disprove two theories.
So many have closely followed this case and continue to ask and hope for updates. The FBI just issued a full synopsis of where things stand today. Sebastian Rogers disappeared from his Hendersonville home on February 26, 2024. The 15-year-old with autism did not take any clothes, shoes, money, food, or his cell phone. His mother only reported a small yellow flashlight was missing. A massive search, including TBI and Sumner County Sheriff's investigators, covered a 4.5-mile radius around Sebastian's home. That's roughly 44,000 acres and no sign of the teen.
This is the system that we use to track all of our searchers.
The FBI says agents have now followed through every one of the hundreds of tips. However, they have yet to produce any solid leads. Several months have indeed passed, but Sheriff Eric Craddock has said,
it's not a cold case. It's an active and ongoing investigation.
The FBI now does disprove two theories. One involving security video, which I obtained early in the investigation, showing what appeared to be lights outside Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. Agents say the dark sky and camera angle combined had distorted the security footage, and lights were actually from a truck away from the home. They have also now debunked a theory that a person in a green hoodie spotted near Sebastian at a restaurant before he disappeared was in any way involved. The Amber Alert for Sebastian does remain active, and the FBI is offering $50,000 for any information that leads to his whereabouts. They do encourage the public to continue to call in tips to 1-800-TBI-FIND. Nick Barris, News Channel 5.
Nick, thank you. And when he disappeared, Sebastian was 5 feet 5 inches tall. He weighed about 115 pounds. He has brown hair and eyes that look hazel or brown.
Sorry, you guys. I just threw myself out the window. I don't know how I did that, but sorry about that. Yeah, it's Eddie's show now. So this is Sebastian's original missing poster, folks. The FBI has done a secondary one, which I have. Again, sorry about that. Hold on a minute here. I was trying to find the second. Minute. So this burner phone, there was a call made to a burner phone from Sebastian's phone the night that this happened. And it's kind of wild because the burner phone, the call to that was made from his phone to this phone, the burner phone was in Clarksville, Tennessee. Well, as soon as that was figured out, welcome, Frank. Good to see you. Curacao, thank you. And this is the FBI poster here. It says on this, as soon as that happened, the FBI figured this out. They put this new poster out, and it says on here that Rogers has ties to Clarksville, Tennessee. Seth Rogers does. So there's a lot of speculation going on in this case now, especially with the father. Okay. There's some new thoughts out there that I've seen put out on different creators' platforms and channels and stuff like that based on these things. It's all speculation because there's no valid proof in this. There's people saying that they think that because of the time not matching up with what the father, Seth, has stated, that it's possible that he wasn't at work when he said he was, and that he may have picked his son up earlier in the middle of the night and did something. We don't know. Okay. I'm not saying any of that's true, you guys. I'm just telling you what the different theories are. Okay. Yeah. And this is why it's interesting, because this is where Seth lives, his friend and neighbor that's up and moved to California that week. That same week. Okay. That she used to, I'm pretty sure this person used to watch Sebastian and stuff like that. But that person, the week that Sebastian goes missing, that person takes off to California. All I'm saying is it'd be real simple to take him somewhere that nobody knows who he is. Okay. It's interesting. Okay. It's very interesting. I'm not saying these are things. I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying it's interesting. I would love to know where this kid is. I really, truly would. And I've always kept it in my mind that he was still alive for the longest time, you guys, but it's been so long now that I've had to make myself face reality and say that it's possible now that he's not, because it's been so long and there's nothing. There's absolutely been nothing that proves anything as to where he went. And that's another one too. Tomboy's right. We've talked about this in our Discord, in our meetings and stuff deeply. One thing they never did, folks, was they never stopped construction at that construction site over there. Okay. And if Sebastian decided to take a walk that night and ended up in an area he shouldn't have, and something went down and he was accidentally fell into a hole, they were burying a sewer pipe and stuff like that, and foundations for houses and all sorts of things. It's very possible he could have been buried in somewhere, guys, as scary as that sounds. And that's why they've never found anything. We've talked about that before quite a bit. And I had to wonder, it's very plausible that something like that happened and nobody knows a thing, except for possibly, some people on that crew. Or somebody took him from that crew and took off. We don't know. I'm just saying these are all plausible theories, but the point is I wanted to get his face out again, his name out again, and I just want to remind people that he's still missing and that he's being missed by a lot of people, guys. And I felt like this is my child, and he's not at all. After as much time as I spent on this case, I truly felt like he belonged to me, okay? And I can play out what parents go through with this, because I have this child that has done the same things that people say about him, and it just hurts me. It really, truly hurts me. This one I took personal, folks, and it hit me dead square in the middle of my heart, and it's still there. So there it is. And so the update, like I said, was that they did find that there was a call made from Sebastian's phone that night to a burner phone in Clarksville, Tennessee. And again, his father lives there, and some other people that his father knows live there. And it's just interesting. I'll just say that much. It's very interesting. So out of everything that was done that night, that one thing sticks out in my mind now. Yeah, they didn't spend, from what we understand, they didn't spend any time looking into the construction site workers or the site itself. They didn't stop construction. In a situation like this, I would have thought they would have stopped construction, but they didn't. And I think that's important. So it's one of two things, like I told you guys, that somebody lured him and took him, or he's over in that construction site buried somewhere, in my opinion. I'm just saying. So there it is. It's really, truly all there is on this one, Eddie. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks as always for having me up, and I'll hop out now. But first, I'll wish Meg again happy birthday.
Yes. I hope she has an amazing day today. Thank you for that too, Eddie. Thanks for joining us. And if you're bored later, you have nothing to do, hop on over to.
Yeah, I'd love to. You can expect me there.
That sounds great.
Looking forward to it, Daigle.
Appreciate that very much.
See everybody there.
All right, brother. We'll have a great one again. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate your insight in all three of these situations, and I can't wait to see you later.
Talk to you all later. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. I did. Yes, I did see that, Tomboy. Thank you. Or somebody else made the comment too, and I thanked them as well. I'm glad he did, but unfortunately there's no trial now, and that's sad to me. This is the link, folks, to the live stream with AR, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about the Ellen Greenberg situation, as well as the Idaho 4, which should be a great conversation. AR's got a great mind, I think, and has a way of breaking things down that I very much respect, and I'm looking forward to it. And I would love to see each and every single one of you guys there, if you will. We could definitely use the support. He said something about me doing a dual stream, so I might do it that way. And both of us can have everybody there. So if it works, I will definitely do it that way, and you guys will be able to come here and there at the same time. I want to thank my mods again for everything you guys do. I couldn't do without you. And Meg, I hope you have an amazing day today, dear. I hope you enjoyed the little silly things I put up for you, and I hope it makes your day a little bit better. You guys are all amazing. I appreciate you guys so very much. Cat says 9 more likes to hit 100. So go create some people, guys. Go get your neighbor, your dog, your cat, make them stick their little paws on there and hit that like button. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. I hope today was insightful for you guys, as always, and you got a little something out of it, what we covered today. Both very important cases, the Amy Bradley situation and the yogurt shop murders. And of course, Mr. Sebastian Rogers needed some attention. I appreciate you guys being here for it, and very much appreciate everybody hitting the like button, sharing it out. And your input is important to me too. So if you want to leave a comment, I really appreciate that. Dexter needs to hit the like. There you go. I love that. But yeah, guys, don't forget, folks, again, to love yourselves and love each other. Don't change nothing, because you guys are the beautiful people. Thank you to all my meatballs. I appreciate you jumping in the sauce and spilling some sauce with us today. And if you are not yet a meatball, guys, and I see some of you guys are still white, let's get that green in here and jump in the sauce with the rest of us, guys. Become a meatball. Become part of the fam. Meg, have an amazing day, hon. I appreciate you more than you know, and all the rest of you guys. If I don't see you with AR, have an amazing day. I'll see you tomorrow. I hope to see you all, though, so very much. Thank you, SRB. I appreciate that. And don't forget, we got some cool new stuff going on in the merch shop, folks. We got Baby Dago shirts you can get now, if you're interested. Little baby me on a shirt that has some kind of a saying. Cassie put together quite a few of those. Miss Cat just gifted another membership. Thank you, Miss Cat. Let me check and see who gets that. 1 second. 6:30 p.m. Meg, Eastern Standard Time. So I don't know where exactly everybody's at, but I'm not good with figuring out the time zones. 1 second. Let me check something here. Where's it at? Where's it at? All right. Let's see. It looks like Mark Schumann received that membership. Congrats, Mark. Welcome back to the sauce, my friend. Did she gift another one? She did. And that one went to Noelle. Congratulations, Noelle. Welcome to the sauce. Thank you so much, Kat. You're an angel. God bless. So very generous. And there's the link to the merch shop. If you guys want to check in to the merch shop, check out some of the stuff we have. All you got to do is jump in there, look at the products we have, and figure out what you want. And if you have anything you're looking at or for specifically, let us know. We can probably put it together for you. Amy, good to see you, dear. Thank you so much for joining us. And Kat, again, thank you. Much love to you, dear. Welcome to the sauce. Lord. Noelle. And also Mark Schumann. So generous of you, Kat. We love you. I have a great team here, truly. Thank you to anybody that chose to support the channel via Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. The super chats, we hit both our goals within an hour, folks. That was awesome. Appreciate that very much. You guys are all so amazing, guys. Once again, I'm going to say it one more time because self-care is so important. Don't forget to love yourselves first and then love each other. And don't change nothing. You guys are the beautiful people. And I will see you guys very soon. I might jump into the mod thing here right after this for a minute before we go live. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Flicker like broken halos. Whispers gather in the smoke-filled air. Tables carved with secrets and shadows. Every story's a wound laid bare. The kettle's boiling with a restless rage. Justice written on an unseen page. I sip the silence, bitter taste, waiting for the ghosts to show their face at the True Crime Cafe. We serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth. torches fall where the guilty once stood. The jukebox hums like a funeral choir, echoes pounding through the neighborhood. Every scar is a candlelit vow. We hunt the how, we demand the now. No more silence, no more disguise. We'll paint the night with sharpened cry. At the True Crime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. This is not a sermon, it's a battlefield hymn, a requiem dripping from the bottle's rim. The guilty write stories